In a modern office, a young employee, Hang Xingweng, stands before his boss's desk, earnestly requesting time off. He explains that he has a family emergency and, despite knowing the department is busy, promises he only needs 2 days. Leaning forward with a pleading expression, Hang Xingweng reassures his boss that upon his return, he will diligently make up for all the work he missed. His boss, a man in a suit, leans back in his chair, looking nonchalantly at his phone. He coldly questions the request, stating that the new short drama department is understaffed and leaves are not approved except for weddings and funerals. The camera zooms in on the boss's phone, revealing what truly has his attention: a live stream of an attractive female influencer posing for her audience. While ignoring his employee's plight, the boss casually taps his screen, preparing to send a virtual gift worth 500 currency to the streamer. A virtual rocket launches on the screen as the streamer thanks her generous donor amidst a backdrop of digital fireworks, showing the boss's misplaced priorities. Getting more desperate, Hang Xingweng clarifies the gravity of his situation, explaining that his mother is seriously ill and hospitalized, needing someone to care for her. He begs his boss to make an exception. The boss, with a toothpick in his mouth, retorts with cruel indifference. He asks if Xingweng's father is still alive or if other relatives can help, questioning why he must go himself. He callously suggests Xingweng can take leave only if the illness becomes critical. Meanwhile, the streamer on the boss's phone blows a kiss to the camera, thanking the big brother for the rocket, completely oblivious to the real-life drama unfolding. Hearing his boss's heartless words, Hang Xingweng's expression darkens with suppressed rage, his hands clenching into fists. The boss continues his lecture, pontificating that one can't climb the ladder without sacrifice. He boasts about working during his own father's funeral as the reason for his success and criticizes young people for being too delicate. From his desk, the boss talks down to Xingweng, arguing that timeliness is crucial in the media industry, and one person's absence could lead to significant losses for the entire department. Xingweng tries to find a middle ground, offering to work from home and stay in touch, but the boss cuts him off, refusing to listen to any compromise. With a smug, dismissive look, the boss tells Xingweng to forget it. He goads him, saying if he wants an easy life, he should just quit and go back to his parents, forever remaining immature. Standing up to assert his dominance, the boss continues to humiliate Xingweng. He reminds him that as a graduate from a third-tier university, he was only hired by the top media company in the city because they were desperate, calling him ungrateful and a slacker. The boss pats Hang Xingweng on the shoulder in a condescending manner, delivering a final warning: trends won't wait, and neither will this position, so he should think carefully before taking leave. Having left the boss's office, a defeated and stressed Hang Xingweng lights a cigarette, the smoke curling around him as he processes the confrontation. He sits alone at a small table, his back to the viewer. Music plays from his phone, creating a somber and lonely atmosphere as he reflects on his dire situation. His solitude is broken by an incoming call. It's his dad. With the cigarette still in his mouth, Xingweng answers the phone. The scene shifts to a hospital corridor. A nurse is on the phone with Xingweng's father, Mr. Hang, sternly asking when Ms. Zhou's medical fees will be settled, stating they've been flexible enough and can't handle further delays. The nurse's face is shown up close. Her expression is severe. She reminds him that he said the same thing a few days ago and warns that if the fees aren't settled this time, the patient will have to be discharged. On the other end of the line, Mr. Hang sweats nervously, hastily agreeing and promising to handle it as the pressure mounts. Back on his call, Hang Xingweng's face is shadowed with worry, having likely overheard the stressful conversation in the background. He feigns ignorance, apologizing for being busy and asking his dad to repeat what he said. Pushing aside his own troubles, Xingweng tells his dad he'll be back in a few days to help with the medical fees. His father, wanting to shield his son from financial pressure, quickly replies that he has already borrowed some money from relatives and that insurance will cover a large portion of the bill. However, Xingweng's expression hardens with resolve. He firmly tells his father not to borrow from relatives and that he will cover the remaining costs himself, insisting that his dad shouldn't worry and should leave it all to him. His father, still on the line from the hospital, expresses his concern, worrying that his son might resort to risky loans. But Hang Xingweng firmly cuts him off, confidently stating, "I'm fine. I have the money, just wait." He looks at his bank account balance of 50,000 yuan. He explains that he's been working for a year and a half, and despite his low salary, he saved this much by living frugally, sharing a bunk bed, and spending very little on food. With a heavy sigh, he tries to reassure himself. He believes that the 50,000 he painstakingly saved should be enough to cover his mother's medical expenses, at least for a while. Stealing his resolve, Hang Xingweng makes a life-changing decision. He declares that after 20 years of living cautiously, he will finally go against his ancestral values and resign from the inhumane company, realizing his parents can't wait. He walks decisively to room A206, the HR department. He calls out to his colleague, "Sister Lei, I'm coming in," as he prepares to tender his resignation. 20 minutes later, he walks out of the office with a bitter smile. The deed is done. He is now officially unemployed, a fact that weighs heavily on him. The reality of his situation crashes down on him. In a Chiba-like moment of panic, he laments his own recklessness for daring to quit his job in such a tough economic climate without another one lined up. Suddenly, a golden notification window materializes in front of him. It announces that the ultimate freedom system has been activated because he quit his job and acted against his ancestors' wishes. As a reward, he has been granted 88,888 yuan. Hang Xingwang's eyes widen in utter disbelief. He stares at the floating screen, completely baffled and questioning what he is seeing. Thinking he must be hallucinating, he wonders who is playing a video so loudly that it's buzzing in his brain. His colleagues in the office glance over, confused by his reaction. The system interface appears again, addressing him as master and urging him to check his reward money. It gives him a tantalizing instruction: indulge freely, the more you indulge, the more money you'll have. Xingwang stares, dumbfounded. Hesitantly, he takes out his phone, his mind racing as he tries to process the impossible message from the mysterious system. He opens his banking app and is stunned to see a new message. It confirms a deposit of 88,888 yuan, bringing his current balance to a staggering 138,888.8 yuan. He can only stare in confusion. Staring intently at the numbers on his screen, a sliver of doubt creeps in. It's too good to be true. He can't help but wonder if this is all just an elaborate scam. He scrolls through his transaction history. He sees the previous deposit of his 5,000 yuan salary, which brought his total to 50,000. Right below it is the new, unbelievable deposit of 88,888 yuan, confirming the new balance. His eyes bulge in a comical, chibi-style shock as the sheer size of the number finally registers in his brain. The amount is real. The system chimes in again, its golden interface radiating confidence. It tells him not to doubt, that he has awakened the system and should now start living his life to the fullest. An imaginary cascade of money falls around him. As he looks at his phone, he admits to himself that if he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would never have believed this was actually happening. He zooms in on the income transfer details on his phone, a single transaction of 88,888 yuan. The unbelievable reality starts to sink in. Did he really just awaken a system? A thoughtful chibi version of Hang Xingwang appears. He contemplates the name Ultimate Freedom System and connects the dots. He activated this incredible power simply by resigning from his job. A confident smirk plays on his lips. He feels like he's starting to understand the mechanics of this system and decides he needs to find an opportunity to test its limits. As he's lost in thought, a feminine voice calls out to him, asking what he's thinking about. He looks up from his desk to see a woman standing very close to him. It's Gao Wen, a popular singing and dancing blogger with 8 million fans. She asks him if he has prepared her upcoming livestream operation plan, referring to him as Xiao Hang. Gao Wen leans in close, her chest right at his eye level. Startled by the sudden proximity, Hang Xingwang gets a nosebleed as he recognizes her, and she asks if he's done it. Flustered and blushing, with a trickle of blood from his nose, he asks, "Done what?" He admits to himself that he was so distracted by her sudden appearance that he didn't hear a word she said. Gao Wen playfully teases him, asking if his eyes have finally been opened to her charms. Trying to hide his blush, Hang Xingwang nervously replies that she is still so fond of joking around. In an inner monologue, Xingwang explains that Gao Wen is a top female internet celebrity he used to manage. She's currently complaining that her top-paying fans have been slacking off and her revenue has decreased. He reflects on her personality. Online, she's known as the sexiest dance goddess, but in person, she's surprisingly friendly and not arrogant at all. Her main trait is that she loves to joke around. Stealing his nerves, Hang Xingwang looks away and bluntly informs her, "Sorry, I've already resigned. I won't be responsible for influencer operations anymore. The company will arrange a handover." Gao Wen is taken aback, her playful demeanor vanishing instantly. Why so sudden?" she exclaims, shocked by the unexpected news. Xingwang tells himself that he knows she doesn't look down on others, but she only gives him extra attention because he's familiar with her operations. Now that he has resigned, they will go their separate ways. A chibi version of him appears, grinning with a sparkle in his teeth. He feels a sense of clarity and empowerment, thinking to himself, "I've become clear-headed in this world." Gao Wen leans in close, trying to persuade him. "Do you really want to resign? I still prefer you Xiao Hang managing me," she says softly. Flustered, he stammers that he's already completed the procedures, trying to maintain distance. She wonders why he's acting so weird today, as he would normally play along cheerfully. She puts on a pleading act, asking, "Does Brother Xiao really want to leave me by myself?" His eyes flash with newfound clarity. He sees through her manipulation, telling himself, "Being nice to me is just because she sees profit in me. Hang Xingwang, don't be deceived." Maintaining a cool and distant expression, he simply tells her, "I want to give myself a long vacation." Not giving up, Gao Wen continues to press him, asking about his future plans and worrying that they might become competitors, lamenting how long it will take to get used to someone new. As she touches his chest, the physical contact is too much for him to handle. His nose erupts in a massive bleed, and he thinks to himself that this is too exciting and he can't hold back. But then, clenching his fist, he reminds himself of his new power. "With the system, I can easily become a billionaire," he thinks fiercely. "What kind of beauty can I have?" With this newfound confidence, his perspective shifts. He looks at Gao Wen and thinks critically, the one in front of me seems to have had too much work done." No longer flustered, Hang Xingwang looks at her calmly, and in a moment of ultimate freedom, bluntly states, Gao Wen, you should get some cosmetic maintenance done on your nose. It seems a bit crooked. Gao Wen's eyes widen in absolute shock and disbelief. Her mind struggles to process the blunt criticism she just received. She covers her mouth with her hand, a deep blush of embarrassment spreading across her face as she whispers the word, crooked. Panicked, she immediately fumbles in her top, pulling out a small, round compact mirror to check her reflection. She turns away from him, frantically examining her nose in the mirror, muttering in denial, how could it be crooked? That's impossible. Her denial turns to horror as she looks closer. Shoot, it does seem a bit crooked, she thinks, panicked. The live broadcast is about to start. I need to fix this quickly. Just then the system dings with another notification. It praises him. Awesome. The host actually refused to be a beauty's lapdog, expressing his true thoughts. Rewarded 23,333 yuan. He stares in shock. His attention snaps back to his phone, his eyes drawn to the screen as he receives yet another notification from his bank. The message confirms another deposit, this time for 23,333 yuan. His new balance now stands at an incredible 162,221.8 yuan. A wide, confident grin spreads across his face, a sparkle in his eyes. So that's what ultimate freedom means, he thinks, finally grasping the true nature of his newfound power. He throws his head back and laughs, sticking his tongue out. Be yourself, and refuse to be a simp, he declares, fully embracing the rule of his new system. Unexpectedly, Gao Wen gives him a wink and a smile. She thanks him for the reminder about her nose, admitting she hadn't noticed. Since he's decided to resign, she won't hold him back and wishes him a bright future. Hang Xingwang is left completely bewildered by her reaction. Really, he thinks, shouldn't she be furious after having her flaw pointed out? Why is she so calm? Gao Wen continues with a warm smile, offering to treat him to a farewell dinner. She tells him to send a message if he has trouble finding a job, as she knows some bosses and believes his skills are exceptional. Her genuine offer makes him reconsider. He suspects she knows about his humble educational background and is truly worried for him. Maybe her previous words weren't all empty talk, he muses. This person is actually quite nice. A young man with blonde hair, Hang Xingwang, talks to his colleague, a woman with long silver hair named Gao Wen. He insists on treating her to dinner, but she advises him to save money since his salary isn't high. Gao Wen insists on paying, saying that since she's leaving, she wants to treat him as an advance thank you for his potential support in the future. She laughs, finding it funny that even though he's about to leave, she's only just realized that she doesn't really know him at all. Hang Xingwang smiles and says he's all packed up and ready to go. He promises to get in touch with her after work. After leaving his former workplace, Hang Xingwang walks down the city street, a backpack slung over his shoulder. He reflects on his past life of extreme frugality. He would always walk if possible, use public transport, and avoid taxis unless absolutely necessary. His monologue continues, revealing that he would only dare to carpool with others after 11 p.m. when public transport stopped running. Even that was considered a luxury. But today is different. Looking at the ride-hailing app on his phone, he decides he wants the most expensive option, ready to indulge himself properly. Moments later, a sleek, silver luxury car pulls up in front of him, gleaming in the sunlight. A professionally dressed chauffeur steps out from the driver's side and politely invites him to get in the car. Hang Xingwang is thoroughly impressed. The luxury car arrived in less than 3 minutes, and he admires its smooth lines and the powerful sound of its engine. The scene flashes back to his past, showing him crouching by a wall late at night, lamenting that it was too late to find a carpool and he'd likely get home around midnight. Returning to the present, a determined look crosses his face. He realizes this is a true class leap, and that the person he is today is completely different from his past self. The chauffeur holds the door open for him, respectfully addressing him as boss and inviting him into the car. As he settles into the plush backseat, a holographic screen appears, notifying him that because he felt generous and took a taxi without looking at the price, he has been rewarded with 50,000 yuan. Meanwhile, the driver confirms his destination. With a confident look, Hang Xingwang changes the destination, telling the driver to stop at the Laoxi pancake shop instead. The driver acknowledges the change of plans with a simple got it, and presses his foot down on the accelerator. A chibi version of Hang Xingwang grins with delight, enjoying the powerful and luxurious pushback from the car's acceleration. The luxury car zips through the streets, heading swiftly towards the pancake shop. Having arrived at his destination, Hang Xingwang steps out of the car, a newfound confidence radiating from him. The elderly woman running the pancake stall recognizes him as a regular. She kindly asks if he wants his usual order, a plain pancake without egg and sausage. Smirking, Hang Xingwang holds up 2 fingers and tells her, "No, I want 2 extra eggs." He continues his order, asking for 2 pure meat sausages, not the cheap starch ones. His extravagant request leaves the other customers in line stunned. As he waits, Hang Xingwang reflects on the stark contrast between his past and present. With a monthly salary of just 5,000, he spent 800 on rent and couldn't afford to spend more than 20 yuan on food daily. A basic pancake was 8 yuan, and he never dared to add an egg. Yet today, he proudly spent 15 yuan on a single meal. He feels an overwhelming sense of accomplishment, grinning as if he's leveled up by finally eating a 15 yuan meal. He's so happy with his new status that he feels jealous of himself for not only adding 2 eggs, but also 2 pure meat sausages. The other customers in line are shocked by Hang Xingwang's order. A woman expresses her envy, wondering when she'll ever be able to show off like that. The system activates again, shocked that the host has taken a great leap forward in living standards by adding both eggs and sausages. For successfully indulging, he is rewarded with another 20,000 yuan. Hang Xingwang stands confidently, enjoying his pancake. He savors the moment and the delicious pancake, thinking to himself what a wonderful afternoon it is and how satisfying it is to be about to have a big meal. Overflowing with excitement, a chibai version of Hang Xingwang pumps his fist in the air, declaring that next time he'll add 5 eggs to his order. As he eats, he reflects on his past, remembering how he was so broke during his studies that he couldn't afford to entertain himself. He continues his thought, realizing that after he started working, he had neither the money nor the time for entertainment. Tossing the wrapper in a bin, he wonders what normal people even do for fun. His eyes land on a large, modern building in front of him, a shopping mall with the sign K18 prominently displayed. An idea sparks, and his eyes widen with sudden realization. He lightly slaps his forehead, chiding himself for forgetting the obvious. Now that he has plenty of money, he can go shopping at the mall. He remembers his promise to treat his former colleague, Gao Wen, to dinner. He knows that high-end restaurants have dress codes, and his current casual outfit is definitely not up to standard. With a new sense of purpose and a confident smirk, he decides it's time to go shopping. Hang Xingwang finds himself in a high-end shopping district, walking past the glowing signs of world-famous luxury brands like Louis Vuitton and Hermes. However, he quickly becomes overwhelmed. He wonders why the big shopping mall smells like oranges and why all the brand names are in English, a language he can't understand. He stands comically bewildered before a store named Ashabi, completely lost in this unfamiliar world of luxury. His confusion turns to frustration when he sees a sign for Ativan. He comically complains about how a big mall could lack a basic brand like Adidas, mispronouncing the name. He quickly catches himself, scolding his own small-minded thinking. He realizes that with his new wealth, he shouldn't be looking for cheap brands and decides to just go all out. With renewed determination, Hang Xingwang turns and walks purposefully toward the entrance of the Louis Vuitton store. As he enters, 2 sales associates at the counter notice him. One snobbishly dismisses him, telling her colleague to handle the new customer because she is busy. The sales associate, who was told to assist, gives Hang Xingwang a dismissive, judgmental look, scanning him from head to toe. In her eyes, a digital scan labels every part of his outfit as cheap junk, discount goods, an old phone model, and worn-out shoes. Her final, damning verdict flashes in red: poor person. Continuing his new life, Hang Xingwang walks into a high-end luxury store. However, the 2 sales associates, a blonde and a pink-haired woman, completely ignore him, judging him by his casual attire. Annoyed by the cold shoulder, Hang Xingwang breaks the silence. "Isn't anyone going to attend to me?" he asks, his patience wearing thin. The saleswomen remain dismissive. Hang Xingwang confronts them directly. "Although I do look broke, your snobbishness is too obvious." He continues, explaining that he was simply tired from work and wanted to make a quick purchase of items worth 150,000 and leave. Fed up, he turns to walk out. "Since you're wasting my time, I'll go to Hermes next door," he declares, leaving the saleswomen in his wake. The threat of losing a massive sale to a competitor instantly shatters their arrogance. The 2 women are left in stunned silence. Immediately, the attitude of the entire staff changes. They flock around Hang Xingwang, eagerly asking what he's looking for and offering him a seat and tea. The VIP treatment has begun. Hang Xingwang smirks to himself, thinking, HMPH, money really does talk. He relishes the sudden shift in power. After his shopping spree, Hang Xingwang leaves the store as the staff sees him off. They now carry his bags and bid him a warm farewell. He muses on the experience, noting that the service for the wealthy in these luxury stores is indeed first class. They even carry your bags for you. One of the saleswomen, seeing a valuable client, invites him to a jewelry appreciation event at the end of the month. He coolly replies, "I'll come if I have time." She then offers to have his newly purchased items delivered directly to his residence, smiling sweetly. Hang Xingwang declines the offer, stating, "No need, I prefer to do things myself," as he takes the bags from her. Completely charmed and impressed by his demeanor, the saleswoman wishes him a good day, her eyes sparkling with admiration. As Hang Xingwang walks away, he overhears 2 women talking about how only someone like a sister who could afford to buy from such expensive boutiques like LV and Hermes. Holding up his own luxury bag, he smirks and agrees with their sentiment, indeed expensive. Just then, a notification from his system pops up. It congratulates him for spending 3 years' worth of his old salary in one go, rewarding him with 660,000 yuan for the satisfyingly showy achievement. A wide grin spreads across Hang Xingwang's face as he realizes the core principle of his new life. Indeed, spending more leads to earning more. Running a hand through his hair, he feels a surge of ambition. He's just a little bit away from becoming a millionaire and is determined to work hard to get there. Meanwhile, his former colleagues, Gao Wen and Dingding, are together when a call comes in. Dingding is surprised to see the caller is Lingwei, thinking it's a restaurant with the same name as a person. The person on the phone clarifies that the reservation is at the Lingwei located in the Kingshan building, causing Gao Wen to break out in a cold sweat. The group is shocked. That's the super famous 3 Michelin-star restaurant, where a single meal costs at least 3,000 per person and reservations are nearly impossible to get. Dingding voices her disbelief. Are you sure there's no mistake? Has Hang Xingwang become rich and successful? Is that why he quit his job? Another colleague, a woman with red hair, scoffs at the idea. She cynically suggests he's probably just faking his location to show off, a common trick people use to seem important. However, Gao Wen quickly comes to his defense. Don't be so quick to judge people, she insists, firmly believing he's not that kind of vain person. Her words, however, only add to the tension within the group as they decide to find out the truth for themselves. The red-haired woman, unconvinced by Gao Wen's defense, sneers with contempt. We'll see, she thinks. He might just get slapped in the face. Deciding to settle the matter once and for all, Gao Wen takes charge. Let's head out first and see when we get there, she says, getting into her silver Audi. The 3 women drive through the brightly lit city streets, heading towards the infamous Kingshan building to uncover the truth about Hang Xingwang. In the car, Dingding complains about her own bouncy second-hand Mini, envious of Gao Wen's stable Audi. The red-haired woman chides Dingding, a beauty blogger, for not leveraging the wealthy big shots in her livestream for resources. The red-haired woman gives her cynical advice, suggesting Dingding should pull her collar down, alter her voice, and show off a bit to attract big spenders. She continues to pressure Dingding, telling her to lower her standards to get rockets from rich viewers. But a flustered Dingding refuses, shouting, "Stop it, my livestream audience is all female." The red-haired woman scoffs at the idea of working hard, declaring that she'd immediately become a full-time housewife if a rich man offered to marry her. Noticing Gao Wen's silence, she turns on her. "Hey Owen, what do you mean by staying silent? Are you looking down on me?" she asks, her tone sharp and accusatory. Gao Wen finally responds with a dose of realism. She explains that she believes relationships built on fleeting excitement are unsustainable without financial independence, and she has no desire to constantly be on guard against a wealthy partner's wandering eye. Her friend calls her a buzzkill and accuses her of hypocrisy, claiming that the dances in her own livestreams are more provocative than anyone else's. Gao Wen remains resolute. She states she wants to be self-reliant and make her own living, concluding with her personal motto, "Men may betray you, but money won't." The group finally arrives at the underground parking garage of the Kingshan building, their silver Audi pulling into a spot. One of them steps out of the car, her elegant high heel and sparkling anklet hinting at the stylish, high-stakes world they're about to enter. Now outside the car, Dingding grows nervous. She questions if they should double-check, worried that Hang Xingwang sent the wrong address and that even Gao Wen, despite her high income, would hesitate to treat them at such an expensive place. The red-haired woman, concerned about their online image, urges Gao Wen to confirm the reservation. It would be embarrassing to be caught without one, potentially losing them followers. Gao Wen agrees and pulls out her phone to call him. Gao Wen makes the call, but the phone just beeps, ringing unanswered. The red-haired woman looks on, a skeptical expression on her face. With a smug, condescending look, the red-haired woman blames Gao Wen. "It's your fault for being close to someone who likes to show off. Now you're affected too." Gao Wen stares at her phone, still holding out hope and giving him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe Xiao Hang is busy, she wonders, using his old, more familiar name. Despite her skepticism, the red-haired woman suggests they go upstairs anyway, a sly smile on her face as she admits she's eager to see Hang Xingwang make a fool of himself. Gao Wen is hesitant. She knows Lingwei is incredibly expensive and recalls that Hang Xingwang was always quite frugal. It feels completely out of character for him. She sighs, lamenting in a cute chibai thought bubble. If this is all a big joke, she'll be the one stuck with the massive bill to save face for the group. Despite their reservations and the mounting cost of potential failure, the 3 women decide to proceed, approaching the opulent entrance to the Lingwei restaurant. Still cautious, Gao Wen peers around the corner of the entrance, trying to get a glimpse of the situation inside before they commit to entering. Growing more anxious, she tries calling him one last time. Why is he still not answering, she thinks, her worry increasing with every unanswered ring. The phone screen shows his name, Hang Xingwang, as the call continues to go to voicemail. Time is running out, and they have to make a decision. Just as their anxiety peaks, a polite waitress approaches them. "Hello ma'am, do you have a reservation?" she asks, causing Gao Wen to jump in surprise. Gao Wen, trying to appear confident, steps forward while her friends hang back nervously. Yes, she stammers. Taking a breath, she gives the name with feigned confidence, praying it's correct. It should be under the name Hang Xingwang. The red-haired woman smirks internally, eagerly anticipating their humiliation. She knows a meal here would cost at least 3 months of Hang Xingwang's old salary and wants to see how Gao Wen will get out of this situation. To their utter shock, the waitress smiles warmly. "Please follow me," she says. "Mr. Hang has been waiting for you for a long time." The confirmation hits the red-haired woman like a ton of bricks. What, is this for real, she thinks, her mind reeling in disbelief. As the waitress leads the stunned group, all 3 of them wear expressions of pure shock, unable to process that the reservation is real. The red-haired woman's shock quickly turns to jealousy. She bitterly thinks about how lucky Heowen is, always getting the top resources from their company while she's stuck in second place. Her resentful thoughts turn to Hang Xingwang. She imagines him spending lavishly just to impress Gao Wen, wondering if she's the type who likes men who merely pretend to be rich. Their disbelief deepens as the waitress leads them not to the main dining hall, but to a private elevator. "Please come in," she invites. Inside the elevator, Gao Wen's hand presses the button for the 40th floor, taking them to an even more exclusive part of the restaurant. As they ascend, Gao Wen voices her lingering doubt, suggesting she should ask to make sure. The waitress overhears and clarifies that this elevator is exclusively for the top-floor VIP viewing rooms. The waitress explains the minimum charge for these rooms is a staggering 10,000 per person. The news leaves both Gao Wen and Dingding speechless. But the red-haired woman remains defiant in her skepticism. She convinces herself it must be a different person with the same name, or that Hang Xingwang starved himself for months to save up. She decides to wait and see how he handles the bill. She doubles down on her theory, concluding that the clever Hang Xingwang is just a show-off who saw a reservation under a similar name and is pulling a stunt. The more you boast, the more likely you are to be exposed, she thinks. The elevator dings, announcing their arrival on the 40th floor, the point of no return. The waitress opens the door to a luxurious private dining room, gesturing for them to enter. "Please be seated, you three." Gao Wen scans the opulent room, her brow furrowed with confusion. "Hang Xingwang isn't here," she asks, while Dingding looks around with wide-eyed excitement. Seizing the opportunity, Dingding immediately pulls out her phone. "Since we're already here, let's take some photos first," she exclaims, ready to capture content for her blog. She explains her plan to the others. Since photos are only allowed in the private rooms, she'll take them now. That way, even if they don't end up eating, she can pretend she did. She strikes a pose, reasoning that once she posts the pictures on social media, who knows if I just snuck in or if I really came to eat. The red-haired woman, however, is unimpressed. "You take photos yourself," she says coldly, sitting down. "Inviting guests but not being here, HMPH, as expected." Dingding pays her no mind, completely absorbed in the moment. "I've never dined in such an expensive restaurant in my life," she says, her eyes sparkling as she scrolls through her phone. "Who knows if I'll ever have the chance to come again," she thinks, snapping a cute selfie with a cat filter, determined to make the most of the experience. Growing impatient, the red-haired woman turns to Gao Wen. "Has anyone replied? Don't end up making a fool of ourselves if this turns out to be a misunderstanding." Just as Gao Wen starts to believe it's all a misunderstanding, the waitress knocks on a door to a private lounge. "Mr. Hang, are you awake? The guests have arrived." Gao Wen thinks to herself that he's just an ordinary office worker and shouldn't be able to afford a place like this. The red-haired woman wears a triumphant smirk, her suspicions seemingly confirmed. "I knew it," she begins to gloat, certain that they have been made fools of. But before she can finish her thought, the lounge door opens. A relaxed voice cuts through the tension. "Sorry, I fell asleep earlier." Then Hang Xingwang himself steps out, looking like a completely different person in a stylish designer jacket. He casually runs a hand through his hair and says, "I woke up to 4 or 5 missed calls. You haven't been waiting long, have you?" Taking complete control of the situation, he looks at the waitress and gives a simple command. "Waiter, you can start serving now." With a respectful "certainly," she moves to fulfill his order, leaving his former colleagues speechless at his stunning transformation. Continuing from the last chapter, Hang Xingwang, now with a completely transformed aura and style, waits at the luxurious restaurant. Just then, his former colleague, Heowen, arrives, looking surprised to see him there. Meanwhile, two other colleagues, Zhan Qingqing and Qu Xinyuo, are already gossiping. They are stunned by Hang Xingwang's appearance, recognizing that he's decked out in expensive, branded clothing. Qu Xinyuo, in particular, is skeptical. Seeing his designer jacket, she wonders if he is secretly a rich heir, unable to reconcile this image with the poor colleague she once knew. Filled with jealousy and suspicion, Qu Xinyuo approaches their table, remarking sarcastically about Heowen's luck in supposedly landing a rich man. Hang Xingwang calmly turns to the other woman, politely acknowledging her. "You must be Zhan Qingqing," he says, showing that he was expecting her. He then turns to Qu Xinyuo with a blank expression, feigning ignorance as he asks, "And you are?" Taken aback and annoyed by the deliberate slight, she curtly introduces herself. "I'm Qu Xinyuo." With a smirk, Hang Xingwang delivers a cutting remark, apologizing by saying he must have been confused because she looks so different without a beauty filter. Qu Xinyuo's eyes narrow. She tries to save face, claiming that it's just because her makeup is light today, but the insult has clearly hit its mark. Her barely contained rage is visible as she bites her lip. The sound of her teeth grinding together hangs in the air. Ignoring the tension, Hang Xingwang turns back to Heowen and casually explains that since he was getting off work, he invited the two colleagues to join them. Just then, a procession of waiters enters the private room, announcing that their meal is ready to be served. As a perfectly cooked, expensive-looking steak is placed on the table, Heowen gasps in astonishment at the sheer luxury of the dish. Reflected in her wine glass, Qu Xinyuo silently fumes, thinking to herself that there's no way they could even afford to split such a bill, and that Hang Xingwang must be putting on a foolish act. The other colleagues, however, are completely won over. They whisper excitedly, now convinced that Hang Xingwang must be a rich heir who quit his job to inherit the family fortune. Heowen, looking flustered and confused, can only say that she doesn't know what's going on, unable to believe the man in front of her is the same person she used to work with. While the women are served a magnificent feast of lobster and other delicacies, Hang Xingwang sits before a simple plate of sour-looking strawberries. He remarks that no matter how nice something looks, it's hard to have an appetite for it if it's sour, a clear jab at his companion's attitudes. Dazzled by the impressive spread, Jan Qingqing excitedly pulls out her phone and asks Hang Xingwang if he would mind if she took a picture first. Playing the part of the gracious host, he gestures magnanimously and tells her to feel free. With shutters clicking, she eagerly snaps photos of the luxurious meal, ready to post it on her social media. Both Heowen and Qiu Xinyuo look towards him, demanding to know what's really going on. But Heowen, still processing the situation, admits she doesn't have an answer. Heowen clarifies that she and Hang Xingwang aren't actually close. Their relationship has been purely professional, though she's grateful for the help he's given her with marketing in the past. The scene flashes back, showing a much less glamorous Hang Xingwang getting out of a regular taxi, a stark contrast to his current display of wealth. The reason for their confusion becomes clear. Heowen is recalling his past chat history, where he desperately begged group members for a single yuan and help with discount tickets. This was the man she knew. How could that person be the same one hosting this lavish dinner? Trying to reconcile the two realities, Heowen starts to wonder if perhaps he was a pragmatic, low-profile rich heir all along. Continuing her train of thought, Heowen rationalizes his behavior. She concludes that he probably didn't want a girl to have to pay for the meal, so he chose this moment to reveal his hidden wealth. Just then, Hang Xingwang interrupts the waitress, dismissing the fancy cuisine. He asks for something more substantial and down-to-earth to eat. Jan Qingqing is amused by his boldness. She agrees with him, complaining that the last time she had an expensive meal, it was all for show and she left hungry, only getting good photos out of it. The waitress, trying to accommodate him within her restaurant's high-class offerings, suggests several elaborate dishes like slow-cooked truffle beef, monkfish liver, or even a customized Alaskan king crab. Hang Xingwang waves off her suggestions with disdain. He declares the fancy names kill his appetite and that he wants intense heat, not slow cooking. He orders her to bring imported crab and lamb, cut into large chunks. Jan Qingqing is stunned into silence. She thinks to herself that this is the first time she's ever witnessed someone ordering food like this in such a high-end restaurant. It's truly an eye-opening experience for her. Heowen, however, is not impressed. She points out that if he wanted to eat such simple fare, there was no need to come to an expensive French restaurant in the first place. Qiu Xinyuo quietly agrees. Qiu Xinyuo's suspicions grow. She muses that his behavior doesn't seem like a true rich heir, but more like someone with newly acquired wealth, a nouveau rich trying too hard. She begins to wonder if he's an imposter. But Hang Xingwang is far from finished. He doubles down on his outrageous request, adding grilled kidneys and barbecue skewers to his order, much to the waitress's confusion. The waitress panics, throwing her hands up as she explains that they only have set menu items. They simply don't have the things he's asking for. Completely unfazed by her refusal, Hang Xingwang states that he's not satisfied with the menu and calmly asks her to get the manager so he can discuss it further. Her eyes widen in disbelief. The waitress is left utterly speechless, wondering if this audacious customer is actually serious or just playing a cruel joke. A moment later, the restaurant manager, a large and imposing man in a suit, arrives at their table to address the situation personally. He apologizes profusely but stands firm, explaining that his establishment is a fine dining French restaurant, and as such, they only serve French cuisine from their menu. Qiu Xinyuo smirks, feeling a sense of satisfaction. She thinks to herself what a bumpkin he is, getting refused like this. It was exactly what she expected. Hang Xingwang glances over at her smug expression, then turns back to the manager. With unwavering confidence, he declares, "But I insist on having barbecue in a French restaurant." He then lays his cards on the table. "The meal is 300,000, he says, "and if you can make grilled kidneys and lamb skewers happen, I'll give you an extra 50,000 as a tip." The manager's glasses glint as his professional demeanor cracks. His mind races, barely able to process the number, 300. The full amount sends a shockwave through the room. The three women are left gasping in utter disbelief as they hear the word, 1,000. Suddenly, the manager's attitude does a complete 180. Money speaks louder than rules. With a newly found, greasy smile, he eagerly asks, "All right then, how would you like your kidneys?" Hang Xingwang smirks and pats the manager on the shoulder. He mockingly tells him that he preferred his defiant look from earlier, and to commemorate its loss, he'll be rewarded. The manager, completely subservient now, adjusts his glasses and bows, promising to instruct the kitchen immediately before scurrying away. And just like that, the system rewards him for his audacity. A notification appears, granting him a massive 500,000 for being so thick-skinned as to disregard etiquette and force a high-end restaurant to bow to his demands. A confident smile plays on Hang Xingwang's lips as the system notification confirms his reward. He muses that this system is the perfect tool for resolving his internal conflicts, rewarding his disruptive desires with cold, hard cash. With the manager gone and the kitchen scrambling to meet his demands, he turns to the still-shocked table. Addressing Jan Qingqing directly, he justifies his chaos with a simple philosophy. Dining should be all about relaxation and getting full, right? Jan Qingqing is completely won over by his logic. She cheers in agreement, realizing that taking photos of something as mundane as grilled kidneys in a super high-end restaurant would be a fantastic and unique post for her social media. A line of sweating, nervous waiters soon parades out from the kitchen, carrying trays laden not with French cuisine, but with the very barbecue he ordered. Hang Xingwang looks on with a satisfied glint in his eye. And there it is, skewers of grilled meat and vegetables, and plates of glistening grilled kidneys, served with a side of dipping sauce, looking completely out of place yet undeniably appetizing. Jan Qingqing is left completely speechless, her mind blown by the revelation. With money, you really can do whatever you want. She marvels at the situation, phone in hand. Who would ever believe she had barbecue skewers at a Michelin 3-star restaurant on the top floor of the tallest building in the city? The bragging rights are off the charts. The once elegant table is now filled with an assortment of barbecue. Hang Xingwang sits at the head, the perfect host, and formally invites the ladies to join him for dinner. Sometime later, the feast is over. The table is a mess of empty skewers and plates, a testament to the hearty, down-to-earth meal they just shared in the most luxurious of settings. Wiping his mouth elegantly with a napkin, Hang Xingwang politely excuses himself, saying he needs to use the restroom, leaving the three women alone with their thoughts. The moment he is out of earshot, the speculation begins. They calculate the cost of his designer outfit and the outrageously expensive dinner, concluding that he must be a genuine, super-rich second-generation heir. Jan Qingqing posits a theory. The only reason a man that rich would work at their company is because he likes Heowen and wanted to get close to her. Heowen modestly denies having that much charm, suggesting he was just keeping a low profile. Jan Qingqing leans back, convinced. She agrees with the theory, adding that it's a known trope for some rich kids to take on normal jobs just to experience life. Qiu Xinyuo turns to Heowen, teasing her directly. With all this effort he's putting in, she asks, "Aren't you moved? Don't you like him?" Jan Qingqing clasps her hands together, gushing at the thought. A top-tier rich kid spending money so lavishly just for a dinner with her. The idea alone is heart-fluttering. Qiu Xinyuo confronts Heowen more directly, noting how surprisingly calm she is. She accuses her of knowing his background all along and making fools of them while she was secretly aiming for a rich top donor. Heowen, looking exhausted by the accusations, firmly denies it. She states plainly that they aren't even close, so there's no way she could possibly have romantic feelings for him. She insists that she has never had any private interactions with him, and until this very night, had absolutely no idea he came from such a wealthy family. Recalling their time as colleagues, she describes the old Hang Xingwang, modest, ambitious, and hardworking, always staying late for overtime. He seemed just like any other dedicated employee. Qiu Xinyuo reluctantly accepts her explanation, for now. But Qiu Xinyuo's doubt lingers. She voices the question that's been bothering her. Do you think he might be faking it? She brings up the common phenomenon of people pretending to be wealthy heirs to impress girls, maxing out credit cards, and taking out loans to fund their charade. She wonders aloud if Hang Xingwang could be just another one of those imposters, leaving the chapter on a cliffhanger of suspicion. A blonde girl named Dingding expresses her surprise. She's starting to wonder if Hang Xingwang has been pretending to be poor all this time, and if so, she thinks his acting skills are commendable. However, Xinyuo, with a cunning look, suggests that it wouldn't be too difficult to verify if he's truly from a wealthy family. She proposes they should investigate him. A hand gestures dismissively, questioning if such an investigation is necessary, viewing it as intrusive. The cautious speaker is revealed to be Gao Wen, a woman with white hair. She points out the hypocrisy of doubting Hang Xingwang while he is treating them to an expensive dinner. Xinyuo's expression turns sharp as she tells Gao Wen to stop pretending to be innocent, dismissing her ethical concerns. Xinyuo argues that Gao Wen shouldn't underestimate her own value. As a popular streamer, some people might find it worthwhile to spend a few $100,000 just to win her over. She continues her manipulation, explaining that's how manipulative people operate. They charm you until you're emotionally invested, then reveal their true, potentially dangerous colors. Gao Wen, seen from behind, firmly states that despite his generosity, she has absolutely no intention of developing a romantic relationship with him. Looking down on her, Xinyuo decides to take charge. She tells the group to just follow her lead later when she tries to verify Hang's status, framing it as looking out for a friend. The scene transitions, showing a sign for Area B in what appears to be a modern, sleek building or station. As the group walks together, Gao Wen voices her sincerity. She offers to personally cover all the expenses if Hang Xingwang turns out to be a fraud, hoping he isn't being deceptive. Suddenly, Dingding gets curious and directly asks Hang Xingwang if he has a girlfriend. Hang Xingwang calmly replies that he's been single since birth, a genuine lone wolf in the romance department. Dingding is visibly shocked and confused by his answer, letting out a surprised, "Really?" Hang Xingwang elaborates, stating he's been so focused on his career that he's had no time for dating. He finds being a corporate employee demanding enough and thinks becoming lovesick is too much trouble. The scene shifts to a more relaxed setting where Hang is at someone's home. A woman on a couch takes a selfie while he brings food. He muses that being foolishly in love would be miserable. A cute, chibi-style drawing shows Hang Xingwang looking embarrassed and flustered, sweating as a leaf falls on his head. Xinyuo checks the time on her phone. It's 9 o'clock. She suggests they continue the evening at a bar, offering to treat them to a few drinks and mentioning that many internet celebrities frequent the place. Hang Xingwang coolly agrees with a simple sure. The scene focuses on the wheel of a sleek modern car as it drives down a road at night. Inside the car, Hang Xingwang's determined face is reflected in the rearview mirror. Gao Wen sits silently in the passenger seat, looking out the window with a contemplative expression. Hang Xingwang thinks to himself, now that he has some capital to invest, he might even open his own media company in the future. An image of his ambition appears, a grand building labeled Xingwang Media, with him surrounded by beautiful women, symbolizing the success and glamour he envisions. Given his background in the field, he feels confident he could succeed by networking with some internet celebrities. As they arrive at a high-end bar, Xinhuo immediately begins her next test. She tells the group that since the prices are high, she can only afford to treat each of them to 2 drinks, a subtle jab at Hang Xingwang's supposed wealth. Xinhuo continues her act, claiming she'll feel the financial pressure if they drink more, and asking them not to think she's stingy. Dingding cheerfully replies that of course no one minds, and she'll drink whatever is offered. Meanwhile, Gao Wen tells Hang Xingwang to just have a couple of drinks since they're only out to have fun. The street outside the bar is lined with expensive luxury cars, a clear sign of the wealthy clientele it attracts. In the background, Hang Xingwang's group approaches the entrance. In an excited, Chibai-style inner thought, Hang Xingwang expresses his thrill at finally having the privilege of visiting the famous fugue bar. Inside, the bar is electric. A DJ pumps up the music on a brightly lit stage as the crowd dances and cheers with their hands in the air. The atmosphere is decadent and intimate, with several couples dancing closely and embracing under the vibrant, colorful lights of the club. The group settles into a booth. While the girls seem to be enjoying the ambience, Hang Xingwang sits quietly, observing his surroundings. A waiter approaches with a menu. Xinhuo takes the lead, telling the group they can order whatever they like while she decides on a margarita. The other girls place their orders. Dingding asks for a pink lady, while Gao Wen responsibly requests a non-alcoholic lime mojito, stating she has to drive later. Xinhuo turns to Hang Xingwang, whom she addresses as Hang Xiao, a respectful term for a young master. In her mind, however, she scoffs, thinking he's just a pretender who looks like he's never been to a bar. Leaning in, Xinhuo asks Hang Xingwang what he wants to order. He seems a bit taken aback by the direct question. Hang Xingwang regains his composure and gives a cool, non-committal wave of his hand, simply stating, anything is fine. At this, Dingding chimes in and orders a Long Island iced tea for him. Seeing this, Gao Wen immediately objects, questioning why she would order such a strong drink for him and warning her not to take things too far. Xinhuo smiles dismissively, casually asking isn't a bar just a place to drink, completely ignoring Gao Wen's concern. The scene flashes back to the vibrant dance floor, filled with people moving to the beat under the dazzling, futuristic light display. Xinhuo holds up a drink, mentioning a famous bartender named Danny at a different bar who makes amazing, albeit pricey, drinks that she wants to try, perhaps as another test. Gao Wen looks at Xinhuo sternly, telling her she should know when to stop. Xinhuo leans close to Gao Wen and whispers menacingly, suggesting that if Hang is pretending to be rich, they should teach him a lesson to help him find his way back to reality. Xinhuo calls out to Hang Xiao again, but he's looking away, absorbed in his own thoughts. He spotted a few influencers who could be potential business partners, reminding himself that he needs to make money. Seeing that he's not responding, Xinhuo gets visibly annoyed, clenching her teeth and thinking to herself that he's pretending not to hear her. Hang Xingwang finally turns to her, asking if she called him. Seeing her opportunity, Xinhuo points out that he looks bored and suggests they play a game of dice. With a calm, confident expression, Hang Xingwang feigns ignorance and simply asks, "How do we play?" Believing she has him in her trap, Xinhuo eagerly slams her hand on the dice shaker button, declaring, "Let's make it exciting." Believing her trap is set, Xinhuo leans in and lays out the malicious terms with a seductive look. A loss means removing one piece of clothing, or paying 10,000 yuan to opt out. "Wanna play?" she asks, confident he'll fall right into her scheme. But Hang Xingwang doesn't even flinch. He simply closes his eyes and lets out a knowing, confident smirk. Xinhuo thought she was the hunter, but she had just walked right into his line of fire. Hang Xingwang turns the tables on Xinhuo. He reveals that since he used to be the company's operations manager, he knows all about her skills and registered information, including the fact that she is an expert at dice. He directly accuses her of trying to trick him into giving her money. Xinhuo is left utterly speechless and shocked, her entire scheme exposed in an instant. Hang continues his verbal takedown, perfectly describing her thoughts, that he, a mere operations guy earning 5,000 a month, looked inexperienced and was just pretending to be rich by wearing luxury brands and taking them to upscale places. He explains that he wanted to let things slide to avoid embarrassing Gao Wen, but he's not a stupid pushover. He saw the looks of disdain and suspicion in Xinhuo's eyes all along. The system rewards Hang Xingwang for his bold move. It announces that for refusing to be a people-pleaser and exposing the other's scheme, he has earned a reward of 1 million, bringing his total balance to 1.89 million. With a calm expression, Hang Xingwang admits, "I'm indeed not from a rich family." Hearing this, Xinhuo smirks triumphantly at Gao Wen, believing her suspicions are confirmed. "See, I was right, he's just pretending," she gloats. Hang Xingwang smiles calmly, telling her not to rush, as he hasn't finished speaking yet. He delivers the final blow. Although I'm not from a rich family, I have plenty of money. He then offers her a shocking deal, 300,000 yuan for all her clothes if she walks out naked. Flustered and humiliated, Xinhuo clutches her chest and stammers, You're being outrageous. Gao Wen steps in to de-escalate the situation, telling Hang not to be angry and suggesting Xinhuo was only joking. Still defiant, Xinhuo scoffs at his offer, 300,000 yuan. Yeah, right, who'd believe you actually have that kind of money? In response, Hang Xingwang addresses the entire bar, loudly proclaiming he will spend 300,000 yuan to treat everyone to drinks until they're drunk. The crowd erupts in cheers, yelling yay and thanks boss. With ultimate confidence, Hang holds up a golden credit card, announcing, I'll pay by card right now. Confetti rains down as Hang stands triumphantly, arm raised. A notification confirms, Sir, the payment of 300,000 has been successfully made. The bar patrons go wild with excitement, their eyes turning to stars as they shout, Wow, big brother, you're quite the big spender. Hang Xingwang is immediately surrounded by grateful partygoers, who toast to his health and generosity, amazed at being treated by a stranger. The system chimes in with another notification, praising the host's generous and extravagant act of treating everyone to drinks and issuing a reward of 666666. Xinhuo watches in stunned silence as Hang Xingwang, now glowing with an aura of power and wealth, walks past her. She can't believe he actually came up with 300,000 yuan. As he walks away, Hang tells her that while he knows she looks down on poor guys, it doesn't matter, as he never intended to make her respect him anyway. Leaning in with a menacing glare, he delivers the final, crushing blow. After all, people like you are just ants to me. Those who only like to stare at other people's wallets can also be easily humiliated by money. The scene returns to the booth, where Xinhuo is conspicuously absent. Hang Xingwang sits down, and the group is enveloped in a tense silence. The dice shaker sits untouched on the glowing table, a silent testament to the dramatic confrontation that just occurred. Gao Wen and Ding Ding look at each other, both still processing the sheer intensity of what just happened. Finally, forcing a cheerful smile, Xinhuo stands up and makes an excuse, claiming she suddenly remembered something she has to do and will be leaving first. Without another word, Xinhuo storms off in a rage, unable to handle her public humiliation. Completely unfazed by the drama, Hang Xingwang calmly presses the button for the dice shaker, ready to move on. He turns to the stunned Gao Wen and Ding Ding and tells them to continue enjoying the night, reminding them that he's paying for everything anyway. Just then, a new figure approaches their table. It's Ji, a rival streamer. With a glass of wine in hand, she condescendingly greets Gao Wen, asking if she performed poorly today and came to the bar to drink her sorrows away. Ji leans in close to Gao Wen, continuing her taunts. She mocks Gao Wen's top fan for being weak, and then dismissively says she's off the clock, and they can talk about work during work hours, establishing her dominance. In a flashy club, a new character, a woman with striking pink hair named Ji, confronts another streamer with white hair known as Wenwen. Ji mockingly criticizes Wenwen, accusing her of faking an innocent and pure persona that is no longer in trend. Wenwen, unfazed by the taunts, coolly brushes off Ji's provocations, asserting that her business is her own and no one else's. Just then, the protagonist, Hang Xingwang, appears. Ji immediately shifts her attention to him, trying to act familiar, but Hang Xingwang remains silent and distant. An idea strikes Ji. She pulls out her phone, declaring that as internet celebrities, they shouldn't miss the opportunity to livestream such a hot topic. Wasting no time, Ji starts a livestream. She cheerfully announces to her audience that she's with the famous Wenwen Bao and proposes they have a live PK battle right then and there. Ji continues to manipulate the situation on her livestream, telling her audience that Wenwen doesn't seem enthusiastic and asking them to pressure her into agreeing to the PK battle. Wenwen looks at her phone, flustered, as comments from the livestream flood in, urging her to accept the challenge. The audience is excited, demanding she crush Ji in the showdown. Ji smirks, confident in her plan. She tells Wenwen that the big shots in her supporters group are ready to help her surpass Wenwen and become the top dance streamer. With a villainous grin, Ji thinks to herself that it's only a matter of time before her powerful supporters make their move and secure her victory. Suddenly, Wenwen's phone rings, interrupting the tense atmosphere. She announces she has to take a call. On the phone, Wenwen's manager urgently tells her to start streaming immediately to capitalize on the trending opportunity. Wenwen protests, saying she's not in good condition to perform. Her manager forcefully insists, revealing that the company has already paid to get the topic trending. Feeling the pressure, a helpless Wenwen has no choice but to agree. Ji, continuing her livestream, slyly suggests to her audience that Wenwen is hiding. Then, she dramatically reveals Wenwen standing nearby, putting her on the spot. Ji directly confronts Wenwen, asking if she's scared. Resigned but determined, Wenwen accepts the challenge, saying, "No, let's start." The stage is set. With a phone on a tripod recording their every move, Ji and Wenwen stand ready to begin their live dance battle in the middle of the club. The PK battle begins. Both streamers start dancing, with Ji striking a confident and energetic pose while Wenwen follows suit, though with less enthusiasm. Elsewhere, a woman watching the livestream is shocked by the number of high-value gifts like rockets and yachts being sent. she grows worried, exclaiming that Gao Wen is falling behind. On the dance floor, Ji is in her element, pushing herself harder and captivating the audience with a powerful and seductive performance. In contrast, Wenwen's performance is lackluster. The audience comments on how inferior her dancing is, with some speculating that she's using high-tech filters and can't perform well live. Many viewers decide to unfollow her and support Ji instead. A view of the livestream screen shows Ji dominating the PK battle. She has 518 supporters to Wenwen's 400. The comments section is filled with viewers mocking Wenwen's poor performance and speculating that her top streamer status is about to be usurped, especially without support from her usual top fan, Brother Zai. Watching the livestream from a distance, Hang Xingwang holds his phone with a stern and focused expression, taking in the whole situation. Now seated, Hang Xingwang takes a sip of his drink. A knowing smirk spreads across his face as he understands the unfair situation, muttering, "Playing dirty, huh? Be letter 1 ECF qua, exact duplicate." Just as Hang Xingwang makes his move, an animated rocket shoots across the livestream screen, signaling that a massive donation has just been made on Wenwen's behalf. Wenwen stares at her phone in disbelief as a notification announces that a mysterious Big Brother has sent a rocket to her. This single gift, worth a huge amount, is just the beginning of Hang Xingwang's intervention. Re-energized by the support, Wenwen winks at the camera and makes a heart shape with her hands, thanking the mysterious Big Brother and promising to try her best. The single rocket has already started to close the gap. But it isn't just one rocket. A continuous barrage of rockets floods the screen, a display of immense wealth. Wenwen is overwhelmed, stammering out her thanks for the second, third, and fourth rockets from her generous benefactor. As Wenwen's score 442 rapidly climbs towards Ji's 518, the live stream chat explodes with activity. The scrolling comments are so fast that they completely obscure the streamers' faces, showing the chaos and excitement among the viewers. Ji watches from the stage, her confidence shattered. She stares in disbelief and anger, wondering if Wenwen had a hidden, wealthy supporter all along. The comment section is in an uproar. Ji's fans cry foul, questioning if there's a system bug. However, other viewers quickly point out the truth. A big shot has arrived and has been continuously sending rockets for 2 minutes, completely turning the tide of the battle. Staring at her phone in a rage, Ji realizes the battle is lost. She furiously laments the money her own supporters spent, seeing it as a complete waste in the face of this overwhelming financial power. Wenwen, sweating and flustered by the sheer scale of the support, can only stammer out another thank you. She finds the situation completely exaggerated and unbelievable. The viewers are equally stunned. They calculate that the anonymous Big Brother has donated over 1 million yuan in just a few minutes. While some speculate it's an agency promotion, others argue that no agency would pay such a high price due to the platform's hefty commission. From his vantage point, Hang Xingwang looks down at the stage with a cool, detached expression. Having completely overwhelmed the competition with money, he rhetorically asks himself if there's any point in continuing the battle. Just as the battle concludes, a notification from the God-tier system appears. It rewards Hang Xingwang with a staggering 5 million yuan for his extravagant beyond compare spending, praising him for being unpretentious and spending money like water. In the midst of a heated streamer PK battle, Dingding watches with concern as her friend Wenwen's opponent continues to receive a flood of donations. She wonders aloud if the non-stop gifting is just a mistake, a child accidentally clicking on their parent's phone. However, it is no mistake. In the audience, Hang Xingwang calmly and deliberately begins tapping his phone, a faint smile on his face as he prepares to turn the tables. On stage, the streamer Wenwen is visibly moved, her eyes closed in gratitude as a wave of virtual rockets suddenly fills her screen. Her chat feed explodes with new viewers flocking to witness the legendary spending battle. The battle had been orchestrated by Wenwen's rival, Shui. Her top donors had coordinated their efforts in a private group chat titled Shui's Diamond Level Big Shot Group. One of Shui's main benefactors, a man in a pinstripe suit, rallies the troops. He messages the group, refusing to let the matter slide and vowing to send even more gifts to secure Shui's victory. The donations pour in for the pink-haired streamer Shui, who looks on with a smug and confident expression. Her screen fills with notifications of rockets from her supporters. It seems her victory is all but assured. Playing her part, Shui gives a dazzling smile and thanks her big donors by name, fostering the connection that keeps the gifts coming. But behind the cheerful facade lies a cynical reality. Shui recalls her top fan demanding private videos in exchange for his generous support, a grim reminder of the transactional nature of her fame as she continues to perform for the crowd. Shui cheers on the battle, confident that her powerful backers won't miss this chance to be heroes and secure her win. The momentum seems entirely on her side. Watching from the sidelines, Hang Xingwang lets out a smirk. Unimpressed by the show of force from Shui's fans, he simply asks, "Is that it?" With a crack of his knuckles, Hang Xingwang prepares to unleash his own barrage of donations, ready to completely overwhelm the competition. Meanwhile, Wenwen continues to dance for her audience, unaware of the financial war being waged in her name, as the club's energy reaches a fever pitch. Suddenly, the system announces a massive donation, 100 rockets sent from a mysterious Big Brother. With this single act, Hang Xingwang is declared the new top fan, and the system rewards him with a 10 million bonus. But he's just getting started. Another notification pops up. 500 rockets sent to Wenwen Baby. The system once again congratulates him for becoming the new top big brother. The battle is over in an instant. Wenwen is declared the winner. She winks and forms a heart with her fingers, thanking her audience and her mysterious, incredibly generous new big brother. A close-up on an eye, wide with shock and disbelief. The sudden reversal has left Wenwen's rivals completely stunned. Hang Xingwang sends a final, decisive volley, 1,000 rockets. Wenwen is left standing speechless in a downpour of virtual gifts and confetti, the undisputed victor. The system lights up with more rewards for Hang Xingwang. For becoming the top daily donator on the platform, he receives another 10 million bonus. For his sheer persistence, the system adds another 1 million on top. On stage, a bowing Wenwen expresses her heartfelt gratitude. She thanks the anonymous Big Brother for not only helping her win, but also bringing millions of new viewers to her small stream. Displaying a humble nature that contrasts with the extravagance, Wenwen tearfully asks her fans not to waste their hard-earned money on her, despite the fortune just spent. Her sincere plea resonates with the audience. The live chat fills with praise for the pure and unpretentious streamer, her popularity soaring after the dramatic and unexpected victory. Elsewhere, the defeated streamer Shui stares at her phone in utter disbelief. She can't comprehend how all her efforts and carefully laid plans resulted in nothing but fame for her rival, Wenwen. Consumed by jealousy, Shui glares at her screen. The text highlights Wenwen's unprecedented single-day achievement of millions of viewers and donations, a feat even top streamers can't match. In the background, she sees the victorious group of Wenwen, Dingding, and Hang Xingwang. His work now complete, Hang Xingwang stretches casually. Having just spent millions to alter the careers of two streamers, he nonchalantly declares that it's getting late and time to head home. But before leaving, he walks past the defeated streamer. He turns to her, calling her Miss Lu, and offers some patronizing encouragement. With a smirk, he says that if she keeps working hard, maybe one day she'll surpass Wenwen, a final jab to complete her humiliation. As they walk away, Dingding whispers to Wenwen, relishing in their victory. She remarks how Hang Xingwang's parting words must have made the rival streamer, Lu Shui, absolutely furious. Wenwen, however, simply gestures for her to be quiet. And furious she was. Lu Shui stands frozen in the club's neon glare, her face shadowed with anger and humiliation, utterly speechless. Leaving the drama behind, Hang Xingwang leads the way out of the club, followed by Dingding and Wenwen, as confetti continues to rain down from their victory celebration. The scene transitions to the sleek, modern exterior of the venue, where a white luxury sports car waits parked by the entrance, hinting at the wealth of its owner. Outside, Dingding is still buzzing with excitement. She recounts how she saw Lu Shui's face go white as a sheet when her grand plan completely backfired. She continues, gushing about what an enlightening day it was to witness a real-life super tycoon in action, praising Hang Xingwang as the #1 big brother on the entire platform. Noticing her friend's muted reaction, Dingding turns to Wenwen and asks why she doesn't seem excited about her own victory. Wenwen quietly confesses that she feels unworthy. The sudden, massive donation came from a fan she had never seen before, and the sheer scale of it makes her feel uneasy rather than purely joyful. Dingding, ever the pragmatist, brushes off her concerns. She declares the anonymous donor a godsend and proclaims that she absolutely must get closer to this generous Big Brother Wang. Wasting no time, Dingding decides to act on her impulse. "Hold on," she says, pulling out her phone. "I'll send Big Brother Hang a private message right now." She types and hits send. At that exact moment, Hang Xingwang's phone, which he was just pulling out, chimes with a notification. A system voice announces, "You've got a message." The timing is too perfect. Both Wenwen and Dingding stare at each other, then at Hang Xingwang, their minds racing as they connect the dots. Dingding points out the obvious, her voice filled with suspicion. "Isn't that the official notification of the Xunian app? I just sent a message, and you." Wenwen remains silent, her sharp gaze fixed on Hang Xingwang, processing the unbelievable implication that he is the mysterious benefactor. Caught off guard, Hang Xingwang breaks into a nervous sweat. He throws up his hands defensively, trying to laugh it off. "Why are you two looking at me like that? It's just a coincidence." He tries to create a diversion, explaining that since he just quit his job, he's been dealing with numerous private messages. "Don't get any ideas," he says, turning away from them. But Wenwen isn't buying it. She thinks to herself about the sheer scale of the spending millions in moments. The other party would have to be worth billions. It's too much to be a simple coincidence. Facing their suspicious stares, Hang Xingwang laughs nervously. "Yeah, I just have a bit of money, but millions in minutes, that's a bit much," he says, attempting to downplay the possibility. Dingding then voices the thought that was on her mind. "I was just thinking that Big Brother Wang has a Wang in his name. What if it's you?" Hang Xingwang chokes, startled at how close she got to the truth. Quickly changing the subject to avoid further questioning, Hang Xingwang asks where they live and offers to drive them home. Wenwen politely declines, stating she'll just take a cab since she lives nearby. Hang Xingwang then addresses her by a different name, Gao Wen. At the sound of her full name, Wenwen looks up, surprised. Just then a man in a sharp suit steps out from the building. "I thought the stream background looked like Fayu," he says with a slick smile. "I'm glad I stepped out just in time to run into you. It's their manager, He Shui." Wenwen's brief moment of surprise instantly vanishes, replaced by a look of disdain. She turns her head away, clearly displeased by the manager's sudden appearance. Manager He Shui fixes his smug gaze on Hang Xingwang. Well, if it isn't our former employee, he says, his voice dripping with condescension. He proceeds to insult Hang Xingwang, calling him an unemployed freeloader who relies on women like Wenwen to get into upscale places. But before Hang Xingwang can say a word, Wenwen coolly steps in to shut the manager down. Actually, she interjects, I'm the one relying on him. He's the one who treated me to dinner and drinks tonight. Manager He Shui is left momentarily speechless, a blush of embarrassment creeping up his face after being corrected by Wenwen. Recovering his composure, he scoffs at her. Gaowen, you can't be serious, he says condescendingly. Don't tell me you've fallen for this poor guy and are covering for him. He leans in, revealing that he already knows the details. I know everything. Tonight's bill was covered by a mysterious person. How could he treat anyone? With a lecherous grin, he adds, I get it though. Poor guys don't have much, but they do have a sweet mouth, always charming young girls. At this, Ding Ding can no longer hold her tongue. She steps forward defiantly and insists, Manager He, tonight was indeed Hang Xingwang's treat. Manager He Shui turns his disdain towards her. Who gave you the right to speak? He says, gesturing dismissively. He gets uncomfortably close, sneering at her. Getting cocky because you have a few fans. Let me tell you, those fans of yours are all fake. The cruel words hit their mark. Ding Ding is stunned into silence, her eyes wide with shock and hurt. He Shui presses on with his verbal assault. The company spent so much money to promote you, buying fake followers. You just do your makeup all day and barely take any ads. Who wants to watch you? He calls her a money-losing asset and cruelly compares her to Wenwen, who brings in millions overnight. The insult leaves Ding Ding speechless as Wenwen looks on, pained. He delivers a final, disgusting piece of advice to the shocked young woman. Next time, wear less when you do your makeup. You're already live streaming, why pretend to be pure? His tirade against Ding Ding finished. Manager He Shui turns back to Wenwen, his demeanor shifting to one of slimy charm. Didn't you tell me you didn't want to be a dance streamer anymore? He asks sweetly. He dangles a proposition in front of her. You earned so much money today and did such a great job. If you agree to one more thing for me, I'll tell the boss tomorrow to let you play a supporting role in a TV drama. Then he reveals his vile intentions as he reaches for her shoulder. For example, he says, his voice low, if you spend the night with me, you know. Wenwen's eyes flash with fury. Before his hand can make contact, it's violently intercepted. A powerful grip stops his advance completely. It is Hang Xingwang who has intervened. He holds the manager's wrist firmly, his face cold and serious as Wenwen watches from behind him. Show some respect, he states flatly. Enraged, Manager He Shui struggles in Hang Xingwang's grip. You lowlife, he seethes, trying to play the hero. He continues to hurl insults, mocking Hang Xingwang's financial status. Can you give her resources? Can you give her money? With your knockoff LV covered in logos, take your stanchion. Hang Xingwang and Wenwen stare him down with cold fury, unmoved by his rant. Get lost, Hang Xingwang says with finality. Wenwen looks at Hang Xingwang's sparkling, reliable back, a new feeling of admiration blooming within her as he stands up for her. Emboldened by his support, Wenwen issues an ultimatum. Manager He, if you harass me again, I'll terminate my contract with the company. Manager He Shui simply laughs, a crazed and mocking expression on his face. Terminate the contract, he repeats, as if it's the most absurd thing he's ever heard. He reminds her that she signed a 5-year contract and still has a year left. He then reveals his trump card, a 10 million yuan penalty for early termination, a sum he believes is far beyond her reach. Wenwen doesn't flinch. I earned millions for the company today, she states calmly. With my previous savings, how could I not afford it? A tick mark of anger appears on Manager He Shui's forehead. His smile becomes a twisted, sinister sneer, realizing she might actually have the money. But he's not out of options yet. Dropping all pretense of civility, Manager He Shui unleashes a torrent of insults. He declares that so-called influencers are just prostitutes with a price tag, no different from ancient courtesans. He mocks her claims of selling art as nothing more than an act of fake purity. He then lays out his final, inescapable trap. I'll be honest with you, he says, his voice dripping with malice. Even if you can pay the penalty, the company won't let you go. With a chilling, predatory smile, he explains the cruel logic of the industry. Who in their right mind would ditch a cash cow, he asks rhetorically, before pausing for effect, and he delivers the final blow. Blacklisting you in the industry is just one word from our boss. The weight of the threat crushes Wenwen, her face a mask of horror as she realizes her career could be over in an instant. Just as Wenwen is about to lose all hope, a calm voice cuts through the tense air. It's Hang Xingwang. Looking at the trapped and despairing Wenwen, he simply states, if she can't leave. Confronted by the arrogant manager, Hang Xingwang calmly stands in front of Wenwen and makes a shocking declaration. He's going to buy the entire company, MANHUA Media. With a chilling smile, Hang Xingwang tells the manager that if anyone is leaving, it won't be the streamer he's trying to fire, but the manager himself. The manager, He Shui, is left speechless and utterly confused by this unexpected turn of events. Regaining his composure, He Shui lets out a disdainful smirk, sarcastically calling Hang Xingwang's bluff impressive. He Shui aggressively pokes Hang Xingwang's shoulder, a gesture of disrespect and provocation. He continues to mock Hang Xingwang, telling him he'll be waiting for a broke bastard like him to actually buy the company. However, Hang Xingwang's unbothered demeanor clearly gets under He Shui's skin, and the manager grits his teeth in annoyance. Muttering about how Hang Xingwang is just trying to show off, He Shui storms off in a huff, leaving Hang Xingwang and the two women behind. After the confrontation, King's face falls as she starts to doubt herself. She wonders aloud if He Shui was right, questioning if her fans and the big spenders on her stream are all just fake, hired by the company. Wenwen looks over at her friend, surprised to hear her so disheartened. King hangs her head in despair, the manager's cruel words having clearly shaken her confidence. Wenwen quickly grabs King's hand, firmly telling her that, of course, her fans aren't fake. She reassures her friend, explaining that He Shui's goal is to manipulate them, to make them feel worthless and completely dependent on the company. Wenwen gently pats King's head, telling her not to be upset by the words of a scumbag like He Shui. Hang Xingwang watches the two friends support each other, a thoughtful expression on his face. Wenwen turns to Hang Xingwang, sincerely thanking him for standing up for her that day. She then turns back to her friend, also thanking King for helping to clarify things, even though it meant angering their manager. Tears welling up in her eyes, King says it was no problem, because without Wenwen, she wouldn't have realized how much He Shui looked down on them. Her sadness quickly turns to comical rage as she stomps and yells, calling their manager a big a-hole. Looking at Hang Xingwang, Wenwen states that they're just colleagues and that he really didn't have to get involved for her sake. Hang Xingwang gives a charming smile, brushing off her concerns. He admits that he's disliked He Shui for a while and was just looking for an opportunity to finally let loose. Hearing his honest and carefree response, Wenwen can't help but let out a small, amused laugh. As they part ways, Wenwen formally extends her hand. Believing he is also leaving the company, she wishes him well, hoping he will soar high in his future endeavors. Hang Xingwang seems momentarily confused by her assumption that he is leaving, but he looks at her outstretched hand, ready to respond to the gesture. Playing along with her formal farewell, Hang Xingwang shakes Wenwen's hand and wishes her well, too. A white Audi pulls up to the curb, presumably for Wenwen and her friend. Hang Xingwang watches as the car drives away, carrying the two women off into the evening. Once alone, he checks his phone and realizes he was so absorbed in sending virtual gifts during the stream that he completely missed his notification alerts. He opens his banking app and is stunned into silence. As he counts the digits, he discovers his account balance is now over 109 million yuan. He bursts with joy, celebrating his newfound status as a millionaire, as gold coins fantastically rain down around him. With his new wealth, he decides he should hurry and buy a ticket home, not a train ticket this time, but a plane ticket. He immediately starts searching for flights from Sang City to Kyong City for the next day. He's taken aback for a moment by the price, remarking how the cheap green train he used to take was only a little over 300 yuan. But after another notification beep from his phone, he scoffs at his old mindset and decides it's time to splurge. Without hesitation, he confirms the payment for a 4,015 yuan flight on Shenhao Airlines. His extravagant choice immediately triggers the system, which rewards him with 9,999 yuan for unhesitatingly choosing first class for the first time and encourages him to keep indulging. The scene transitions from the starry night sky over his dorm building to the bright sun of the following morning. After a long and eventful night, Hang Xingwang is sound asleep in his bed. His sleep is suddenly interrupted by loud, insistent banging on his door and someone shouting for rent. He jolts awake, startled by the rude interruption. Frustrated, he pulls a pillow over his head, complaining that his landlord is already nagging him a week before the rent is even due. The landlord continues to shout from the hallway, demanding Hang Xingwang pay up and not pretend he isn't home. He groggily sits up on the edge of his bed, checking the time. It's only 6:00 a.m. Stumbling to the door, he yells back, asking why she can't let people sleep in a little longer. He opens the door with his phone in hand, looking exhausted and annoyed. His landlord immediately starts lecturing him, complaining that young people are lazy and that she always has to remind him to be responsible and pay his rent. Tired of her nagging, Hang Xingwang wordlessly scans her payment QR code and announces that he has just paid for 1 full year of rent. The landlord's eyes go wide in disbelief, her nagging lecture cut short as she is rendered completely speechless by his statement. A moment later, her phone pings with a notification confirming a 10,000 yuan payment. She stares at the screen, the large sum of money short-circuiting her brain, leaving her frozen in shock. The landlord is frozen in place, a bead of sweat running down her face as she tries to process what just happened. She internally panics, wondering how this broke kid, who always struggled to pay rent right up to the deadline, could suddenly afford to pay for a whole year at once. As she stares at her phone, Hang Xingwang casually points out that he sent an extra 400 yuan. Letting out a big yawn, he tells her to consider it a service fee to ensure she won't come nagging him for rent early again this year. With that, Hang Xingwang shuts the door, leaving the utterly stunned landlord standing alone and silent in the hallway. His business with the landlord settled, he happily flops back into bed, calculating that with his flight at 10, he can still get 3 more hours of sleep. Just then, his doormate, who had been quietly observing the whole exchange, peeks down from the top bunk. He asks in awe if Hang Xingwang hit the jackpot, amazed that he paid for a whole year plus a tip. But Hang Xingwang is already fast asleep, completely ignoring his roommate's question. As he sleeps, another system notification appears. It declares that the host's level of showing off has reached new heights, and for paying a year's rent and tipping the landlord, he is rewarded with a villa in Swan Bay, Sang City. The notification is so shocking that Hang Xingwang's eyes snap wide open, waking him from his deep sleep. He sits bolt upright in bed, trying to process the unbelievable reward he just received. A set of keys materializes in his hand. He stares at them, his eyes wide with disbelief as he says aloud, "Not only do I own a house, I've got a villa." His doormate, still perched on the bunk bed ladder, is left utterly speechless, staring in stunned silence at the impossible scene unfolding before him. In a sparsely furnished room, Hang Xingwang awakens with a jolt, a sense of urgency etched on his face. Without a moment's hesitation, he leaps out of his bed, driven by an unseen emergency. As Hang Xingwang lands, ready to leave, his doormate, awakened by the sudden movement, calls out from the top bunk, asking where he's rushing off to. Hang Xingwang dashes towards the door, shouting back that he's heading home to the airport and won't be returning for a while. His doormate calls after him, asking if he's not going to pack. But Hang Xingwang is already gone, his mind singularly focused on getting the money for his mother's VIP hospital room. Meanwhile, in a hospital room, Hang Xingwang's parents are discussing him. His mother, looking frail, worries about the 100,000 yuan he sent, fearing he might have done something illegal to get it. His father, however, smiles with unwavering pride, completely confident in their son's character. Suddenly, the door to the hospital room flies open, and Hang Xingwang rushes in, calling out for his mother. He anxiously makes his way to her bedside, immediately asking how she's feeling and if there's any discomfort. His mother smiles, reassuring him that it was just a minor surgery and her vitals are good. She tells him he shouldn't have come all this way, while his father kindly offers him an apple. His father then asks about his job, wondering if everything is going smoothly and whether his boss minded him taking leave. With a steady gaze, Hang Xingwang looks at his concerned parents and makes a simple yet shocking statement: "I quit my job." His parents are stunned into silence, staring back at him with wide-eyed disbelief. Despite the shock, their support for him is unconditional. They reassure him that it's okay and he'll find something better, telling him he's been through a lot and needs to rest. Hang Xingwang is deeply touched by their unwavering love and support, feeling that his parents are truly his safe harbor, understanding all his decisions. Changing the subject to the most pressing matter, he turns to his father and asks if the medical bills have been paid. His father explains that he borrowed money to pay them and tries to return the 100,000 yuan, insisting that a young man has many expenses and shouldn't worry about his parents. Hang Xingwang insists they keep the money. He then presses his father for details, asking who he borrowed the money from so they can pay it back quickly. His father looks away, shamefaced, and mumbles that he borrowed the money from relatives. Hang Xingwang's expression hardens. He knows exactly who his father means, and his voice is laced with anger as he asks, which relative? It couldn't be uncle and aunt, could it? Furious that his father had to humble himself before the very relatives who had wronged them in the past, Hang Xingwang storms off, determined to pay them back immediately. His father tries to stop him, urging him not to spend his hard-earned money so recklessly and promising they can work it out. The commotion is too much for his mother, who begins to cry, blaming herself for being sick and becoming a burden on her son. She tearfully reminds him of his small 5,000 yuan salary and how expensive big cities are, expressing her guilt that he sacrifices so much for the family while living a rough life outside. Unable to see his mother cry, Hang Xingwang quickly puts on a cheerful act, waving his hands dismissively and telling her it's not that hard, trying to stop her from worrying. Hang Xingwang comforts his mother, telling her not to worry. He explains he earned a good amount from part-time work, which is how he got the 100,000 yuan, and promises to get the most authoritative specialist for her treatment, regardless of the cost. His expression hardens as he turns to leave. With a cold and determined voice, he announces he's going to his uncle's house to repay the debt, stating firmly that they shouldn't owe them any favors. Leaving the hospital, Hang Xingwang stands on a dusty street, looking for a ride. He spots a man with a small, three-wheeled truck nearby. He hops onto the back of the truck, giving the cheerful driver an address and a friendly warning to hold on tight. The ride is incredibly bumpy, jostling him around. Hang Xingwang's face scrunches in annoyance as he wonders why the road is in worse condition than before. Bouncing along the poorly maintained road, he leans forward and asks the driver, "Weren't they talking about road repairs for the past 2 years? Why is it still so bumpy?" The driver sighs, explaining that the repairs did happen, but they only made things worse. The contractor allegedly colluded with officials, ran off with half the money, and left the road completely torn up and unfinished. Hang Xingwang clenches his jaw in frustration. He mutters about how lawless these people are and how things are always tough in this poor, remote region. He reflects on his own life, realizing that if his family hadn't been financially stable enough to support his education, he might have been stuck in this town forever. Finally, he arrives at a large, modern house that stands in stark contrast to the rest of the town. He pays the driver his 5 yuan fare and gets off the truck. Standing before the imposing building, Hang Xingwang's anger simmers. He bitterly compares his relative's 100-square-meter concrete house to his own family's small brick and concrete home. He clenches his fist in fury, his mind replaying the injustice. If his uncle hadn't taken all of his grandfather's relocation compensation money, there wouldn't be such a huge gap between their families. The humiliation of having to borrow a mere 50,000 yuan from them is the final straw. Stealing his resolve, Hang Xingwang raises his hand and knocks firmly on the door of his uncle's house. The door is opened by a woman with striking red hair and a revealing outfit who peers out curiously. She recognizes him with surprise, saying his name. He recognizes her as well, questioning, "Wang Ju, why are you at my uncle's house?" A look of confusion crosses his face as he stands at the doorway, trying to understand why Wang Ju is here. Wang Ju seems at a loss for words, stammering a simple "I." Just then Hang Xingwang's cousin appears, wrapping a possessive arm around Wang Ju. He smirks, smugly asking Hang Xingwang if his sister-in-law should be at his house instead. The pieces click into place for Hang Xingwang. His expression shifts to one of cold understanding as he says, "Oh, I see." Ignoring their smug looks, Hang Xingwang walks past them, calmly stating his purpose. "Is uncle home? I'm here to repay the money." His announcement catches both Wang Ju and his cousin off guard. Wang Ju recovers quickly, a condescending smirk playing on her lips. "Why so cold? You're still hung up on me, aren't you?" she purrs. His cousin glares, annoyed at her comment. "Why are you staring at him? You're about to be my wife," he snaps, grabbing her chin. Wang Ju scoffs, dismissing her husband's jealousy. "I'm just looking at how pathetic he looks. It's fascinating," she says, looking Hang Xingwang up and down with disdain, mocking his unbranded clothes. She then snuggles up to her husband, boasting loudly, "Our countryside is better. My husband can wear Adidas and Nike anytime." Her husband beams with pride, basking in the comparison. Ignoring their shallow display, Hang Xingwang walks further into the house and finds his uncle on a plush sofa, completely engrossed in a game of cards with some friends. The uncle, barely looking up from his card game, smugly introduces Hang Xingwang to his friends. "This is my nephew who works in the city. He's a city person now." The other card players join in the mockery. One asks if he earns a lot in the big city, while another compares him to a neighbor's daughter who supposedly makes over 100,000 a month. Hang Xingwang's cousin chimes in with a sneer. "Yeah, super successful, working like a horse for 5,000 yuan a month. Our family has old ladies feeding pigs at the village who get paid 3,000. The cousin continues his relentless taunting, grabbing Hang Xingwang's hoodie. "I heard rent in the city is expensive. After rent, do you have more than what we pay for feeding pigs?" he sneers. Hang Xingwang remains calm and collected, cutting through the insults. "Uncle, I'm here to repay you, not for small talk." His cousin bursts out laughing in the background. As if to show his indifference, the uncle casually plays a 3 in his card game. The uncle puts on a show of magnanimity. "No rush. If your family is in difficulty, you don't need to hurry. I'll charge interest anyway." Hang Xingwang retorts that he's doing fine and wouldn't need to borrow from him. Continuing his charade, the uncle passes his turn in the card game and patronizingly tells Hang Xingwang not to be polite, acknowledging how hard it is to work in the city while taking care of family. Hang Xingwang, completely unfazed by the fake sympathy, looks at his uncle and says coolly, "But let's repay it anyway." The uncle condescendingly agrees, saying installments are fine. He then instructs his son, "Dakai, bring me that red book from the cabinet." The cousin Dakai dramatically brings over the ledger, proclaiming loudly, "We're family, I can't bear to see you under so much pressure. Blood is thicker than water." The uncle smirks at his card-playing friend. "Our family's college graduate, so proud, wants everything to be crystal clear. But why be so clear-cut when we're family?" he says with false sincerity. A moment later, a sharp notification ping cuts through the air. Hang Xingwang holds up his phone and calmly announces, "I've transferred 51,000 yuan with interest, uncle. Please check if you've received it." The uncle fumbles with his old Nokia phone, startled by the sudden transfer notification. "Let me check," he mutters, his condescending demeanor gone. His eyes widen in disbelief as he stares at the screen. The confirmation is undeniable. He really transferred it. Completely stunned, the uncle leaps up from his seat, his face a mask of shock as he demands, "Where did you get the money?" Hang Xingwang simply turns his back on his spluttering uncle, his business here concluded. With a faint, confident smile, he delivers the perfect, understated reply over his shoulder, "Working in the city." As Hang Xingwang walks away, his cousin Dakai scoffs, trying to save face. He mutters that Hang Xingwang's poor family is just obsessed with dignity and that he must have emptied his entire life's savings to make that payment. Wang Ju clings to her husband and decides to follow Hang Xingwang out. She declares she'll see him off and clear things up so the toad stops eyeing swan meat. She catches up to him outside, putting on a friendly act. "Xingwang, we're going to be family now. No need to hold on to any old feelings and act like we don't know each other anymore." She continues her patronizing monologue, claiming that though they were childhood friends, she only ever saw him as a little brother and that he should stop thinking about her. Hang Xingwang is left utterly speechless and dumbfounded by her incredible narcissism and self-importance. He looks away from her, completely disgusted by her delusion. He coldly suggests that if people heard her talking like this, it would be bad for her reputation and was against common decency, implying she should be more self-aware. Unable to contain his disbelief any longer, he lets out a short, sharp scoff. He turns to face her, his eyes filled with contempt as he asks the one question that will shatter her ego. "Me, like you." He continues his verbal takedown with a single, sharp command, Go take a look at yourself in the mirror. Wang Ju is left stunned and speechless. Stammering, she demands, "What are you talking about?" Unable to process his blunt rejection. Hang Xingwang smirks, shattering her entire fantasy. "Who's your childhood sweetheart? Just because we used to throw cow dung and climb trees together as kids, you think you're worth that much?" His expression shifts to disappointment as he shakes his head. He admits he once thought she was a diligent and kind person, but now sees she's no different from the others. He dismisses her completely, saying, "You sure know how to pretend, but it has nothing to do with me." Unable to accept his words, Wang Ju retreats into her delusion. "I get it, you're only looking down on me and getting angry because you couldn't have me," she claims. She then attempts to take the moral high ground, stating that as her future sister-in-law, she'll be forgiving and that he should be more understanding. Hang Xingwang is taken aback, his face a mask of confusion, punctuated by question marks floating around his head. He can only utter a single, bewildered huh. Turning his head with a scoff, Hang Xingwang looks at his cousin-in-law Wang Ju with disdain. "You're crazy," he says, leaving her sputtering in shocked indignation. Seething with rage, her face darkens with fury. Without another word, she turns on her heel and storms away from him. Wang Ju stops and whirls around, unleashing a torrent of insults. "Hang Xingwang, who do you think you are? Do you think just because you're good at studying you'll be successful?" she screams, pointing a finger at him. "Ridiculous. You're just a slave for someone else. I despise you." She continues her tirade, her expression filled with scorn. "Yeah, I'm someone who despises the poor and loves the rich, so what?" she boasts. "I'm living with your second uncle in a huge house, eating and dressing well, and you, cramped in a tiny rented room. Your rundown house back in town even leaks." Her words turn even crueler as she brings up his family. "Oh, and your mother. The hospital's like a bottomless pit. No matter how much money you throw in, there's no result." She looks at him with contempt, adding, "The fact that I'm even talking to you this nicely is a lot. Who could ever tolerate your bad attitude?" Hang Xingwang's expression hardens, his eyes glowing with anger. "Are you done talking?" he asks coldly. He then compares her to a frog at the bottom of a well, seeing only a tiny patch of sky and bragging about catching one dead fish as if it were a pearl. He runs a hand through his hair, a menacing, mocking smile spreading across his face. "Who do you think would ever cherish you?" he scoffs. "A toad isn't as self-satisfied as you." Stung by his sharp words, Wang Ju is left speechless, pointing an accusing finger at him, unable to form a coherent response. "What about me?" Hang Xingwang retorts, his voice firm. "Although I don't have much money, and I'm not as capable as your older brother, I work hard and I'm filial to my parents. I don't despise the poor. I'm independent and strong-willed. I've always felt that I'm much better than narrow-minded people like you." His eyes narrow, filled with resolve. "Also, stop acting like a mad person, seriously. Go look in the mirror and reflect on yourself." Suddenly, a golden notification from the system appears. "Wonderful," it declares. "The host has decisively cut off this relationship without hesitation, not hurting yourself but only others. The host is rewarded with a house in Bai Zia town that's awaiting demolition." Hang Xingwang looks bewildered by the sudden reward. A blank check," he thinks to himself, completely unaware of any demolition news, while Wang Ju fumes in the background. As Wang Ju continues to point her finger at him, Hang Xingwang swiftly grabs her hand, stopping her in her tracks. He holds her gaze, his expression firm and final. "You two just stick together and stop harming others. Goodbye," he declares, decisively ending their toxic connection. Having said his piece, Hang Xingwang turns and walks away down a dusty road, leaving his past behind as a car speeds off in the distance. Just as he is walking away, a white car comes drifting recklessly around the corner, kicking up a cloud of dust and dirt right at him. The car skids to a halt, its tires screeching against the dirt road, stopping right beside Hang Xingwang. The car window rolls down, revealing a man with brown hair. "Oh my, isn't that Xingwang?" he says with fake surprise. "Sorry, I'm in a rush to get to the construction site, so I didn't notice you." The man leans out with a smug look. "I'm now the contractor for the city's construction bureau, and the road repairs in the town are my responsibility. I'm a bit busy, so I don't have time to greet you properly." He laughs mockingly. "If you can't find a job, you can come work for me. Carrying and hauling things, your cousin can still take care of you, ha ha ha. All right, I'm off." As the car drives away, leaving him covered in dust and mud, Hang Xingwang's face darkens. "HMPH, no wonder the road ended up in such a state," he mutters under his breath. "Second uncle, your family sure has a lot of talent." A determined glint appears in Hang Xingwang's eyes, a slight smile playing on his lips. "Well, it's time for me to take action and remove this disaster for the people." Following his decision, the scene shifts to the City Construction Bureau's branch in Bai Zia town, the very organization his cousin claimed to be part of. Now cleaned up and looking confident, Hang Xingwang makes his way towards the building. A friendly worker in a hard hat recognizes him and calls out, "Brother Hang, if you have time, drop by often for tea," showing the good reputation he has in the area. With his back to the worker, Hang Xingwang gives a casual wave over his shoulder. "Okay, sure," he replies, accepting the friendly invitation as he continues on his way. Just then another system notification chimes in, glowing brightly. "Righteousness, the host has gained great wealth and glory," it announces. "Thank you, host, for your contribution to the homeland." The host is rewarded with 100 land certificates. Staring at the system's message, Hang Xingwang's eyes widen in disbelief at the scale of his new reward. How much? He asks, shocked. He looks at the floating screen, questioning the reward. 100 certificates. The system seems to misunderstand his shock for disappointment. Too little, but this is automatically determined based on your actions. Hang Xingwang casually waves a hand, dismissing the system's apology with a magnanimous air. Ah, well, I won't blame you, he says, as if dealing with a subordinate. He gazes up at the sky with a thoughtful sigh, lost in thought. This system is getting more and more abstract, he muses. Why do I feel like the entire world's assets are about to fall into my hands? The scene shifts to a hospital room during the day. Hang Xingwang is at his mother's bedside, carefully peeling an apple for her. Mom, have some apple, he says gently. His mother, a woman with kind eyes and light blue hair, smiles warmly. My son is so considerate. A moment later, a stern-looking doctor with slick-back dark hair, flanked by 2 nurses, approaches the room. It's Dr. Lee. The surgery was very successful, he announces formally. Now all indicators have returned to normal. I've arranged for your discharge. Hang Xingwang immediately stands up to object. Doctor, my mom just had surgery yesterday, and she's still in the recovery observation period. Let's not proceed with the discharge yet, he pleads. We'll pay the hospital fees on time, and I'd also like to arrange a comprehensive examination for her. Dr. Lee's face twists into a smug, condescending smile. What I mean is, he begins, his eyes narrowing maliciously, I've already processed your discharge. He gives a curt order over his shoulder to one of the nurses, who looks visibly uncomfortable. Help the patient pack her things. Hang Xingwang's face darkens with anger, his hand clenching into a fist at his side. What do you mean? He asks, his voice low and dangerous. Sensing the rising tension, his mother looks over with a worried expression, the half-eaten apple still in her hand. Xingwang, she calls out softly. Dr. Lee's impatience boils over. It means exactly what I said. Is there something you don't understand? He snaps. The patient is better now, so hurry up and make room for others. Don't take up medical resources unnecessarily. Do you like the hospital so much that you want to die here? In a swift, sharp movement, Hang Xingwang slams the fruit knife he was using down onto the bedside table, the blade biting into the wood with a threatening thud. Startled and enraged by the blatant threat, Dr. Lee points a trembling finger at him. Holding a knife in the hospital, are you trying to cause trouble? He yells. Put it down or I'll call security. In the bed, Hang Xingwang's mother looks on in shock. Trying to prevent a bigger conflict, his mother struggles to get out of bed. Let's just go home. There's no need to spend more money, she says weakly. Hang Xingwang rushes to her side, urging her to be careful. Mom, you just had surgery. Your wound hasn't healed yet. Seeing this, Dr. Lee puts on a patronizing smile. See, your mother understands, he says, placing a hand on her head. A good son should listen to his mom. The doctor then turns to the nurses with a disgusting command. Make sure to clean up thoroughly. Don't leave any trace of poverty or bad luck. The nurses can only agree, beginning to strip the bed. As Dr. Lee turns and walks away, whistling a jaunty tune, Hang Xingwang's hand tightens into a powerful fist, his knuckles white with suppressed rage. He forces himself to calm down, turning back to his worried mother. Mom, we can't waste the peeled apple. You eat it first, he says, his voice strained. I'll have Dad come pick you up. I need to take care of something. His mother pleads with him. Xingwang, don't fight with them. We common folks can't win against them. A confident, almost chilling, smile appears on Hang Xingwang's face as he reassures her. Don't worry, he says smoothly. I won't use force. Meanwhile, in the chief physician's office, Dr. Lee is on the phone, looking out the window. Ah, I've arranged everything, he says into the phone. Your friend's wife can move in right away. Dr. Lee continues to suck up to the person on the phone, his voice dripping with feigned concern. Even a sprained ankle should be taken seriously, he says with exaggerated care. It takes 100 days for tendons and bones to heal. The scene cuts to the other end of the line, revealing Hang Xingwang's smug cousin, a cigarette held casually between his fingers. He praises the doctor with a satisfied smirk. Dr. Lee, you sure work fast, clearly pleased with the outcome of their arrangement. Dr. Lee chuckles into the phone, his voice full of false camaraderie. Of course, we have to be quick. That Hang Xingwang is just a poor guy. How can he compare to your generosity? He continues his rant. They previously delayed paying medical bills for half a month. Letting them stay longer would just use up medical resources for debt collection, a total waste. The cousin replies smoothly, then I'll leave the follow-up to you, director. I'll treat you to dinner later to thank you properly. After hanging up, the cousin leans back in his chair with a smug sneer, stubbing out his cigarette. On my turf, Hang Xingwang thinks he can cause trouble. He scoffs. Dr. Lee also ends the call, a satisfied smile on his face as he pockets a red envelope, a bribe. He's quite good at handling things, he muses, just as Hang Xingwang's silhouette appears in his office doorway. Peeking around the doorframe, Hang Xingwang overhears the tail end of the corrupt dealings. A cunning grin spreads across his face. Huh, a bribe, no wonder, he thinks to himself. Fine, let's play with money then. His eyes gleam with confidence and disdain for their petty corruption. He thinks, can money really make the impossible happen? Isn't this like showing off in front of an expert? The scene shifts to a door labeled Hospital Director's Office. A serious-looking older man with gray hair and glasses, Dean Liu, sits at his desk as Hang Xingwang enters without knocking. Dean Liu looks up from his work, clearly surprised and a bit annoyed by the sudden intrusion. Who are you? He asks, a question mark appearing beside his head. Standing in the center of the spacious office, Hang Xingwang appears small but resolute. Me, I'm just an ordinary patient, he answers calmly. The director frowns, clearly impatient. If you're sick, go directly to the registration desk. I don't see patients here, he says dismissively. Ignoring the dismissal, Hang Xingwang walks over and sits on the sofa opposite the director's desk. Director, he begins, his voice even, I'd like to discuss donating a building to the hospital. An immediate, stunned silence fills the room. Not taking the young man seriously, Dean Liu waves him off without looking up from his book. All right. If you have any issues, go consult the front desk. I'm very busy, he says irritably. I won't be seeing you out. As he tries to refocus on his book, the director's brain finally processes what he heard. His eyes shoot open, and he whips his head around, his glasses askew from the sudden movement. Wait, what did you say? He exclaims. Leaning back in his chair with a skeptical scoff, Dean Liu adjusts his glasses, looking at Hang Xingwang as if he's a fool. Do you know how much it costs to donate a building? The director studies the young man before him, his mind racing with cynical thoughts. This young man looks ordinary. His whole outfit probably isn't worth 200 yuan. Donate a building. Is he joking? Hang Xingwang flashes a bright, confident smile. I know, I've looked into it. There's no problem at all. Shall we go through the process? He asks cheerfully. He knows a mere million yuan is a drop in the bucket for him now, and a worthwhile price to solve his problem and benefit others. He lays out his proposition with a serious expression. I understand that our ward is often overcrowded, so I want to donate a building. He explains his first reason is for the convenience of patients. Second, he continues, his tone shifting, I also want you to investigate whether there are any corrupt practices here. The director's face hardens, and he slams his book shut defensively. I can understand the complaints from patients' families due to lack of beds, but there's no need for baseless suspicions. His mind jumps to a conclusion. So you're here to find an excuse to report us. Hang Xingwang remains calm. I know the dean is also helpless about the shortage of hospital beds, he concedes. However, in such a situation, some people are taking dirty money, giving the already scarce beds to special connections, and harming ordinary patients' interests. I think that's wrong. At the county hospital, Dean Liu stands firmly, declaring his strict principles. He states that he has been in hospital management for 10 years and that they strictly forbid taking any bribes or gifts. Hang Xingwang calmly presents his case, explaining that his mother, who just had major surgery, is being forced to be discharged to make room for a patient who only has a sprained ankle. The dean's face flushes with anger. He vehemently denies the accusation, yelling that Hang Xingwang is just making things up and that such actions go against all of the hospital's procedures. Fuming, the dean tells Hang Xingwang that if he's going to make up a story, it should at least be factual and reasonable. Unfazed by the outburst, Hang Xingwang holds up a small recording device. He calmly asks the dean not to get upset and to listen to the recording first. The dean looks on, puzzled. Hang Xingwang holds the recorder closer for the dean to hear, a confident smirk playing on his lips while the old man squints suspiciously. The recording plays, revealing a damning conversation. A voice, presumably the corrupt doctor's, discusses arranging for a friend's wife to move in, belittling Hang Xingwang's family for being poor and unable to pay their bills, and stating that letting them stay is a waste of medical resources. The dean's face turns pale with shock as he listens. He stammers, questioning if the recording is fake or edited, refusing to believe such a thing could happen in his hospital. Hang Xingwang watches him, looking completely unimpressed. Hang Xingwang questions whether the dean is being naive or deliberately covering up for his staff. He then pulls out his phone, coolly stating that while the recording might be fake, the building is real. He makes a call, casually asking for an engineer Kang from City Construction Unit 1. He proposes a project to build a new building for the county hospital. As Hang Xingwang continues the call, the dean watches him with disbelief, thinking to himself, keep acting, let's see what you can come up with. With a smirk, Hang Xingwang offers the phone to the speechless dean, suggesting he talk to engineer Kang himself, since he doesn't seem to believe a building can just fall from the sky. He pushes the phone closer, pressuring the dean. He warns him not to let a few minutes of stubbornness cost him a whole new building for the hospital. Defeated and intrigued, the dean reluctantly takes the phone from Hang Xingwang's hand. Putting the phone to his ear, he cautiously introduces himself to the person on the other end of the line, stating, "Hello, this is Dean Liu from the county hospital." Suddenly, the dean's eyes fly wide open in shock. He instantly recognizes the voice on the phone. It really is Engineer Kang. The power dynamic shifts completely. The dean speaks with newfound respect into the phone, while Hang Xingwang watches with a satisfied smile. The dean realizes this young man isn't just acting. He's truly rich despite his low-profile appearance. Now seated comfortably, Hang Xingwang presses his advantage. He asks if the dean believes him now and demands an answer regarding the recording, pointing out that someone who can donate a building has no need to fake evidence. To further display his immense wealth, Hang Xingwang leans in and asks with a grin, if one building isn't enough, how about two? The dean stares back, completely stunned into silence. Getting up, Hang Xingwang states his demands. He doesn't have any other requests. He just wants the dean to investigate the unfair practices and severely punish the careless doctor. Still stunned, the dean can only agree. As Hang Xingwang turns to leave, the dean reaches out, finally asking for the name of the powerful young man who just turned his world upside down. Without breaking his stride, Hang Xingwang looks back and says his name isn't important. He's just an ordinary kid from a farming family, doing what's right for ordinary patients. With a charming smile and a confident pose, he adds, "But if you need a name, just write, Messenger of Justice." The door clicks shut, leaving the dean alone in his office to process the ultimatum he has just received. But there is no hesitation. The very next second, the dean's hand slams down on his office phone, his face set with determination as he prepares to take decisive action. Furious, Dean Liu picks up the phone and barks an order to immediately bring him the discharge records for the patient who was just released after surgery. Meanwhile, inside a hospital room, a nurse informs Dr. Lei that the dean is waiting for him just outside the ward. Dr. Li casually agrees to meet him. The moment he steps outside, Dr. Li falls to his knees in front of Dean Liu. He desperately begs for his job, pleading with the dean not to fire him as he has elderly parents and young children to support. A nurse in the background wonders what is going on. Dean Liu looks down on him with cold fury. He retorts that the patients also have families and that a doctor with no medical ethics has no place in his hospital. He fires Dr. Li on the spot. The next day, the scene shifts to Hang Dakai's home. His wife gives him a foot massage, dreaming aloud about how they'll soon be able to buy a house in the city, now that his career is on the rise. Suddenly, the door bursts open, and an angry man storms in, shouting Hang Dakai's name. The man furiously confronts Hang Dakai, yelling about how his wife was kicked out of the hospital, even after Dakai had boasted about his great connections. His wife is so angry she won't even let him in the bedroom. Startled by the intrusion and the accusations, Hang Dakai leaps to his feet, knocking over the basin of water. Flustered, Hang Dakai tries to salvage the situation, suggesting there must be a misunderstanding. He takes out his phone to call his contact, presumably Dr. Li, to sort things out. He dials Dr. Li's number, but the call just keeps ringing, unanswered. Hang Dakai's eyes widen in disbelief as an automated message informs him that the number he dialed is currently unavailable. His connection is gone. The scene shifts to the courtyard of the Hang family home. Hang Xingwang and his mother watch as movers bring in new, high-quality home care equipment. His mother worries about the cost, but Hang Xingwang reassures her with a smile. He explains that it's all arranged by the hospital as compensation for Dr. Li's malpractice, so she can use it without worry. His mother is relieved, and Hang Xingwang feels a sense of satisfaction, thinking to himself that doing good deeds without seeking recognition is pretty cool. Just then, an enraged voice cuts through the peaceful atmosphere, shouting, "Hang Xingwang, was this your doing?" It's Hang Dakai who has stormed into the courtyard. He furiously complains that he spent over 10,000 to get his brother a hospital bed, and now it's all gone to waste. Hang Xingwang's mother looks on in confusion, asking her nephew what he's talking about. A smirk spreads across Hang Xingwang's face. He points out that Dakai just admitted his crime. He angrily connects the dots out loud. It was his own relative who spent a fortune just to kick his mother out of the hospital. Caught in his own lie, Hang Dakai begins to sweat, stammering a weak denial that it's normal for patients to be discharged when they get better. Hang Xingwang calls his bluff, arguing that if he wasn't pulling strings, the hospital wouldn't have arranged for a caretaker. Dakai desperately claims it's because Dean Liu is an upright man who discovered corruption and is compensating him. Hang Dakai becomes more aggressive, demanding compensation. He reveals that since he's offended the person who introduced his construction projects, he's facing serious losses and blames Hang Xingwang for it all. Hang Xingwang calmly brushes off the threats, mockingly questioning why a high-income earner making millions would need to extort money from a supposedly poor guy like him. He continues to dismantle Dakai's argument, asking how a poor man squeezed into a tiny apartment could possibly have the power to cause a big boss to fall so hard, leaving his relative speechless. With a final, dismissive smile, Hang Xingwang suggests that perhaps it's just karma catching up with Dakai for his misdeeds. Done with the conversation, he turns to walk away with his mother, leaving his furious cousin behind. Hang Dakai watches them go, thinking to himself that some people are so used to dirty money, they believe anything can be solved with it, and that there is no justice left in the world. He scoffs, believing Hang Xingwang is just all talk. As he walks away, Hang Dakai throws one last curse over his shoulder, muttering, "HMPH, you'll die poor." Hang Xingwang watches his cousin's retreating figure, a cold smile on his face as he thinks, what a dumb and evil thing. Hang Xingwang's mother links her arm with his, worried. She asks if he thinks the furious Hang Dakai will try to retaliate against them. With a look of absolute confidence, Hang Xingwang replies with a smirk, "HMPH, I'd like to see how he tries to get back at us." Meanwhile, a white pickup truck speeds down a tree-lined road. The driver, Hang Dakai, glances at his rearview mirror. He thinks he recognizes the man in the car behind him as Manager Kang, but quickly dismisses the idea, wondering why such an important person would come to such a remote place. It was indeed Manager Kang. He arrives at the Hang family's front door, carrying fish and poultry as gifts and enthusiastically thanking Mr. Hang for his help with the road construction and building. Hang Xingwang quickly steps in, playing along. He loudly praises Manager Kang's generosity and tells his mother how polite big bosses are. His mother looks on, confused by the sudden visit. Manager Kang, sweating nervously, realizes that Hang Xingwang is hiding his true identity from his parents. He quickly agrees, saying it's only right for him to visit, and that he also came to help fix the muddy road in front of the house. To get him away from his curious mother, Hang Xingwang puts a friendly arm around Manager Kang and says he has something to give him inside. Once inside, Hang Xingwang quietly tells Manager Kang that he wants to keep a low profile on this trip and doesn't want anyone, including his family, to know about his dealings. Manager Kang agrees, thinking to himself that Hang Xingwang is a truly great person for not flaunting his wealth. As they walk into the courtyard together, Hang Xingwang praises Manager Kang for his efficiency, noting that what he asked him to do has already been handled. The manager humbly replies that it's his duty. The scene cuts back to Hang Dakai, who is now driving his car while on the phone with a man named Mr. Zhao. Mr. Zhao informs him that he doesn't need to be involved with the road repairs for now. Hang Dakai is stunned by the news, his eyes wide with shock and confusion. He slams his foot on the brake pedal. The car screeches to a halt in the middle of the road. Trying to keep his composure, Hang Dakai protests, arguing that everything was already agreed upon and that he had already scheduled the workers. He asks what he's supposed to do about their lost wages. From his office, Mr. Zhao coldly brushes him off. He claims there are new regulations and that Dakai's team didn't pass the review. He then quickly ends the call, saying he has other things to attend to. Hang Dakai is left shouting into a dead phone, his connection and his project gone in an instant. The phone beeps, signaling the end of the call, leaving Hang Dakai in stunned silence. The reason for the sudden cancellation becomes clear in a flashback. Mr. Zhao thinks to himself with a smirk that he has no choice, since Hang Dakai offended the powerful Manager Kang. The flashback reveals Hang Dakai in a private room, trying to bribe Mr. Zhao by telling him that the road construction job would be subcontracted to him, and Zhao would just have to sit back and collect his share. Mr. Zhao is seen enjoying the high life, flanked by two women, a result of his corrupt dealings. The flashback shows the depth of the bribery, as Hang Dakai offers to increase Mr. Zhao's cut from 30% to 40%, sliding a bag full of cash across the table. Back in the flashback, Mr. Zhao smirks, enjoying the power he holds over the desperate Hang Dakai. Misreading the situation, Hang Dakai assumes Mr. Zhao is silent because the percentage is too low. He internally curses the official's greed, believing he's being squeezed for more money at the last minute. Trying to salvage the deal, Dakai reassures him, saying that since the qualification review is just a formality, he can easily find a shell company to make everything look legitimate and not put Mr. Zhao in a difficult position. Suddenly, Mr. Zhao explodes with feigned righteousness. He flips the table, sending the gifts flying, and yells at Dakai, asking who told him documents could be forged and if he thinks a few cigarettes could make him break the law, asking, "Who do you think I am, a beggar?" As Dakai scrambles on the floor to pick up the scattered gifts, pathetically trying to explain himself, Mr. Zhao glares down at him, angrily asking if he thinks his words are just nonsense and that he was merely playing hard to get. Hang Dakai desperately tries to salvage his deal, sweating as he makes a last-ditch offer. "Okay, I'll give you 50%, he pleads, hoping to win over the man in charge. But his offer is met with fury. Mr. Zhao glares at him, his face contorted in anger. "I treated you like a brother, and you try to harm me," he shouts, feeling betrayed. "Get out." A guard wastes no time, physically kicking Hang Dakai out into the hallway. He tumbles to the ground, his gift boxes scattering across the floor as the guard yells, "Don't ever let Mr. Zhao see you again. Get lost." Meanwhile, in another, more luxurious room at the nightclub, a hand knocks politely on the door. An attendant opens the door with a welcoming smile. "Mr. Zhao, please come in," he says, ushering the man inside. Mr. Zhao enters and finds two men waiting. One of them, a man with a buzz cut, waves cheerfully. "Ha ha ha, sorry to keep you waiting," he exclaims. Mr. Zhao clasps his hands together gratefully. "Mr. Hang, you're so kind," he says, addressing the blonde man, Hang Xingwang. "On behalf of the townspeople, I thank you for funding the road construction." As Mr. Zhao speaks, Hang Xingwang watches him with a cynical eye, thinking to himself, "Profiteer, hypocrite ba." Hang Xingwang casually stretches and explains his true motive. "It's not that noble. I'm not interested in those matters in Fuse Village. It's just that my parents are getting old and have trouble walking. If the road is bad and they're not careful, they might twist an ankle, which would be troublesome." With a sharp, knowing smile, Hang Xingwang leans in and asks pointedly, "Mr. Zhao, this road won't deteriorate in less than a year again, will it?" His question carries a heavy implication. Mr. Zhao breaks into a cold sweat, flustered by the question. How could that happen?" he stammers, thinking to himself, "I'll endure it just because you're rich." Recovering his composure, Mr. Zhao gives a thumbs up and assures him, "The road we build will definitely meet your expectations." Hang Xingwang smiles, satisfied. "Then I'll leave it all to you. I hope you won't disappoint me." A moment later, a notification appears from the system. It congratulates the host for completing the task of building roads and houses in his hometown, praising his generosity and high moral character. As a reward, the system grants him a bonus. Hang Xingwang closes his eyes with a serene smile. "I was wondering why the system was so quiet these past 2 days, he thinks. It turns out it was planning something big. The scene shifts to the second uncle's yard, where trouble is brewing inside the house. A woman with vibrant red hair storms up to Hang Dakai, who is lounging on the sofa. Hang Dakai, she yells. You're lying here playing with your phone again, all day long, not mopping the floor, not washing. Her anger explodes as she reveals the source of her frustration. If I had known you were such a big talker and that getting the project was all a lie, I would have chosen Hang Xingwang instead. He's in the city, and he has real job opportunities. At the mention of Hang Xingwang's success and his own failure, Hang Dakai's expression darkens, a menacing glint appearing in his eye. He slowly gets up, his face a mask of cold anger as he confronts his wife. What did you say? He asks, his voice low and threatening. Unafraid, she pokes him squarely in the chest. I said, even a bird in hand can fly away, she retorts, calling him out. You're so useless. She stands with her hands on her hips, looking down on him with contempt. If I were you, I'd even kneel before Mr. Zhao if I had to. I can't believe how good you are at showing off, fooling me completely. Having said her piece, she turns her back on him. HMPH, I'm going to find Hang Xingwang now. We grew up together, he will surely. Her words are cut short as Hang Dakai's expression becomes grim. Before she can leave, Hang Dakai lunges forward, shouting, Stop right there, you shameless woman. He grabs her by the back of her hair, yanking her backwards. His anger fully unleashed, he strikes her across the face. You shameless woman, not earning a penny and still daring to criticize me, he screams, losing all control. Are you asking for a beating? But while one home is torn apart by greed, a completely different scene unfolds elsewhere. Hang Xingwang's parents are presented with documents, their faces a mask of pure disbelief and confusion at the sudden, unexpected offer. Hang Xingwang's parents look at the foreman in confusion. What does this mean? His mother asks, completely bewildered by the sudden appearance of a construction crew. The foreman explains with a broad smile, let me explain briefly. This road construction will affect your property, requiring us to use 1 square meter of your land. To express our apologies, we plan to build a house for you as compensation. What do you think? Is that acceptable? His parents are utterly flabbergasted, their eyes wide and jaws dropped in a comical display of shock. What? They exclaim in unison, unable to process the absurdly generous offer. Seeing their stunned silence, the foreman misunderstands and quickly adds, if it's not acceptable, should we add some monetary compensation as well? He maintains a friendly and accommodating demeanor, determined to secure the deal. Still in a daze, Hang Xingwang's parents can't believe their luck. Since when has our village been so lucky? His father wonders aloud. Giving away a house for just 1 square meter of land and offering money on top of that. His mother quickly snaps out of it, realizing the incredible fortune they've stumbled upon. Never mind that, this is such good luck, it's more than enough, she says to the foreman before turning and shouting excitedly, Xingwang, come quick. Someone's going to build us a house. A few days later, the time has come for Hang Xingwang to leave. Standing outside the bus station under a bright sun, he calls out to his parents, Dad, Mom, I'm heading back now. His parents see him off with warm words of advice. Although it's tough working in a big city, you must take care of your health and don't push yourself too hard, his mother says caringly. His father adds with a proud smile, next time you come home, we'll be able to move into a bigger house. Hang Xingwang smiles and pulls his mother into a warm embrace. Don't worry, I'll take good care of myself, he reassures her. I've got to go now, or I'll miss my ride to the airport. He turns and waves one last time as his parents wave back from the entrance. We'll be waiting for you to come back, they call out, watching their son head towards his flight. Later, in the first-class waiting area, Hang Xingwang relaxes, reflecting on his successful trip home. He thinks to himself that it was worth every penny. Suddenly, a woman with silver hair recognizes him and calls out his name in surprise. The woman, a former colleague, approaches him with a bright smile. What are you doing here? She asks, clearly happy and surprised to see him. Hang Xingwang is equally surprised by the chance encounter. Gao Wen, I went back to my hometown to see my mom, and I'm just returning today, he explains, a small caption emphasizing the coincidence. Gao Wen's expression turns more serious and concerned. I'm sorry I forgot to ask earlier. I heard your mother was sick, she says, recalling the reason he left his previous job. You left your job because they wouldn't give you leave. Is your mother okay now? He reassures her with a calm smile. It's nothing serious, she's recovering well. Then he adds, that's good, I'm here on a business trip. Gao Wen explains her own situation, striking a pose. The company wanted me to change my image. I've been working on a rural revitalization campaign, just finished up and was about to head back when I ran into you. Talk about a small world, right? Hang Xingwang gives a small, charming smile in agreement. It really is quite a coincidence, he muses. Curious about his future now that he's left their old company, he asks, so, do you have any plans? Which company are you thinking of applying to? Gao Wen smiles graciously, waving a dismissive hand. If it's inconvenient, you don't have to tell me, she says, not wanting to pry. With a confident smirk, Hang Xingwang reveals his ambitious new direction. It's no secret, I don't plan on joining another company right now. I'm thinking of starting my own business. He then leans back with a comically smug, chiba-like expression, clearly pleased with himself. I've even rented a building right across from my old company just to annoy my former boss. Gao Wen is impressed and offers her help. That's great. If you need anything, just let me know, she says warmly. I know some great editors and photographers who won't break the bank. Their friendly conversation is suddenly interrupted by Gao Wen's phone buzzing relentlessly. The caller ID shows the name He Shui, along with a very long string of ones as the phone number. Their pleasant conversation is abruptly cut short as Gao Wen's phone begins buzzing insistently. With an apologetic look to Hang Xingwang, she glances at the screen, her expression hardening with annoyance. Sorry, I need to take this call, she says, thinking to herself, is he Shui insane? 100 calls in one day. She answers and a man's furious voice immediately blasts from the phone, calling her Hao Chuo. You've made some money and now think you're too important. How dare you ignore my messages? Get online right now and compete with Jiada's team. Hang Xingwang's friendly expression fades as he silently listens to the abusive tirade from the side. Gao Wen tries to reason with him, her voice strained. I told you an hour ago that I'm about to board a plane. You said it was fine then. But he Shui is relentless, shooting back. You haven't boarded yet, have you? Just do it before you get on. She grows more desperate, a sweat drop appearing on her face. But I'm about to board. The next flight isn't for 10 hours and I might not even get a ticket. Plus, this is my rest time. He Shui scoffs from the other end of the line, a sinister grin on his face. Rest time, in this industry, don't make me laugh. You think the company's supporting you for nothing. From his comfortable office, he Shui leans back with his feet kicked up on his desk, showing complete disregard for her situation. If you miss the flight, just stream for 10 hours at the airport. Problem solved, he says callously. Gao Wen's eyes widen in fury. I've already earned the company more than enough, she shouts into the phone. I've been top-ranked for 6 months straight. No one's supporting me for nothing. He Shui remains unfazed as a woman serves him coffee. So what? He says with a smug smile. Your contract is still with us. Until it's terminated, you do as I say. As the woman pours his coffee, he Shui places his hand on her rear, reinforcing his sleazy nature. He issues a final threat to Gao Wen. Stop arguing and get online now. Say another word, and I'll consider it a breach of contract. Hang Xingwang, having overheard the manager's name, steps closer. He Shui, he asks, confirming the identity of the man harassing her. Gao Wen looks towards him and simply replies, yes. He Shui's tone turns venomous as he hears a man's voice. Oh, so you're with that Hang Xingwang guy, he sneers. No wonder you're unavailable. At the airport, my foot, you're probably naked in bed. Outraged by the slander, Gao Wen yells back, her body trembling with anger. Stop spreading rumors. I already took photos of my round-trip ticket and sent them to the company chat for reporting. He Shui continues to taunt her with a smug, condescending look. HMPH. Then why don't you go live right now and prove it? Let's see if you're in bed or really at the airport. Gao Wen is rendered speechless by his audacity, her face a mask of pure shock and fury as she can only manage to stammer his name. He Shui, you. Before she can say another word, Hang Xingwang has heard enough. He swiftly takes the phone from her trembling hand as He Shui continues to shout, what about me? With the phone now in his hand, Hang Xingwang calmly addresses the abusive manager, leaving Gao Wen stunned into silence. It's just a breach of contract fee, right? He asks coolly. How much? I'll pay it. Then with a cold, determined gaze, Hang Xingwang delivers the final blow. By the way, he states with chilling certainty, this call is recorded. I have the right to sue you for defamation. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and turn on the bell for more awesome stories.